We are now resuming the city council meeting. City Attorney Burris.
All right, section 2-67, under number 6, says that what you're supposed to do in this order of business is the reading of the minutes of the preceding meeting or meetings, plural, and corrected and approval of the same, unless dispensed with by the council, and correction of the minutes of the previous meeting. So if I were a fifth grade English teacher, I would take my red pen to this. But what it seems to be saying is that you can look at minutes of preceding meeting or meetings so that you don't even have to do anything tonight. That if you don't approve the minutes, they are perpetually out there for you to approve because your order of business says that you read the minutes of the preceding meeting or meetings, plural. So you don't have to defer it. It's just hanging out there in limbo, and when they come back and the minutes accurately reflect the votes taken, you can consider them then and then approve them. Keep it on the June agenda. If you want to dispense with this entirely, amend section 2-67 and just take it off your order of business, and it'll just be an administrative thing. But most public bodies like to at least see that the votes were accurately recorded, and I would commend that to you. Just get away from the verbatim transcript business and just look at the votes that were taken on resolutions and ordinances.
This is the correction. She has the motion. Is that one wrong still?
Yeah, that one's wrong. I know for dispensing, yeah.
So really, Ms. Wheeler,
Yes.
Nicole should have like the actual recorded votes on all that stuff, right? To just save you some time looking through all that. Nicole, she's got the recorded votes, so she just needs to say, this is what we have.
I mean, I don't have, they're in my office.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not tonight, yeah, but next.
And also,
next
these are
week.
2 or 3 months back, so we would have to re-listen to the minutes.
Well, it says you can go back as many meetings
Right.
as you want.
Right.
Okay. I guess my question is, for the next set of minutes, et cetera, can we amend the agenda to withdraw that, or do we just proceed with seeing if they want to dispense with it and accept or not? Just proceed. Okay. Madam Clerk, reading of the minutes for the next.
Reading of the minutes of the council meeting on March 16th.
2017. Do I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes.
Approval of the corrected minutes of the council meeting on March 16th.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
As Councilman Wheeler said, they have a couple mistakes on this one.
Yeah.
Being that we don't have a motion to approve, then I ask, it is dropped from the meeting tonight, and we can ask for it to be placed on the June 15th meeting. Let me see where I am.
Don't we have to at least motion to take it off the agenda?
No, it's like dropped because it's not seconded. Just like a ordinance. Since it wasn't introduced.
Approval of the
March.
March 16th minutes.
It just gets dropped because it's no second.
Stays on.
Right. Okay. Board of Adjustments? Oh, okay. Sorry.
All righty. And then we have reading of the minutes of the council meeting on April 20th.
Do I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Hewitt. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays.
And a-
Motion passes. Do I have, Madam Clerk?
Approval of the minutes of the council meeting on April 20th.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have, how many yays, please repeat? 3 yays, 2 nays. The minutes for April are approved. Thank you.
All right. Communications. Reading of the minutes of the Board of Adjustments and Appeals on March 15th. These are corrected minutes here.
From March,
March 15th,
Okay.
Board of
do I
Adjustments.
have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any nays? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes.
So these were the minutes that
That
the
kid,
chairman got up and spoke last time that the
Yeah.
votes weren't accurately.
Well, he said he
Yeas
never,
and
he
nays
was
or-
supposed to receive them and sign off on
Right.
them, and apparently
And-
it wasn't provided to him.
But the
Right.
votes,
But then there
Wow.
were only 3 people
They had 3
present,
people.
but there were 5.
You were supposed to
votes or
check on that. It was that.
no,
because
that's
they
right.
voted a two, because they voted
It's the
2-1, it
margins,
really
yeah.
should be, and you had 3 votes to pass something.
And Richard did sign them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The chairman,
Yep,
the chairman did sign them and approve them.
okay, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have 4 yeas, 1 nay. Approval of the minutes. The minutes have been approved.
Who is the nay? I'm sorry, I need that.
Councilman Wheeler.
All right. And the Board of Adjustments and Appeals did not meet in April or May. And reading of the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Board on May 3rd.
Do I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes.
And it's accepting the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Board on May 3rd.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have 4. Who was the other nay? Oh, I'm sorry. We have 3 yays, 2 nays.
It was me and Tim.
Councilman Bodier. Minutes are approved.
All righty. Now, resolutions. All right, this is proposed resolution number 2017-13. The following resolution was offered unanimously by the Council of the City of Harahan. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Harahan, Parish of Jefferson, State of Louisiana, in a public meeting held on May 30th, 2017, which meeting was conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Law and the additional requirements of Article 7, Section 23C of the Louisiana Constitution and RS 47-1705B, that the following adjusted millage rates be and they are hereby levied upon the dollar of the assessed valuation of all property subject to ad valorem taxation within said city for the year 2017 for the purpose of raising revenue. Total millage 13.59. Be it further resolved by the Council of the City of Harahan that the tax collector of the City of Harahan is hereby authorized to extend said tax on the assessment rolls of the City of Harahan for the year 2017, and she is further authorized to collect said tax on all property within the incorporated limits of the City of Harahan. The foregoing resolution was read in full, the roll was called on the adoption thereof, and this resolution was adopted by the following votes.
Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Anyone who would like to speak to this resolution, please come up and address the council. If there's no one wishing to speak to this resolution, do I have a motion to close the public hearing? I have a motion by Councilman Bodier, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Johnston. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Council discussion?
No discussion.
No discussion.
No discussion?
I want to reiterate where we're not increasing people's taxes. This is the same tax that you've been paying. This is not a tax increase. It is the same tax that you have been paying. We're just renewing the rate.
Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Resolution passes.
All right, proposed resolution number 2017-14. The following resolution was offered unanimously by the Council of the City of Harahan. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Harahan, Parish of Jefferson, State of Louisiana, in a public meeting held on May 30th, 2017, which meeting was conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Law and the additional requirements of Article 7, Section 23C of the Louisiana Constitution and RS 47-1705B, that the taxing district voted to increase the millage rates, but not in excess of the prior year's maximum rates, on all taxable property shown on the official assessment roll for the year 2017, and when collected, the revenues from said taxes shall be used only for the specific purposes for which said taxes have been levied. Said millage rates are: the adjusted rate total is 13.59, 2017 levy total 13.93. Be it further resolved by the Council of the City of Harahan that the tax collector of the City of Harahan is hereby authorized to extend said tax on the assessment rolls of the City of Harahan for the year 2017, and she is further authorized to collect said tax on all property within the incorporated limits of the City of Harahan. Foregoing resolution having been submitted to a vote, and the resolution was adopted by no less than 2/3 of the total membership of the taxing authority voting in favor as required by Article 7, Section 23C of the Louisiana Constitution and RS 47-1705B. The vote thereon was as follows.
Do I have a motion to open public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. It is now open to public hearing. Anyone who wishes to address the council, please come forward. If there's no one wishing to address the council, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Bodier, seconded by Councilman Johnston. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
We have, any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Address the council is now closed. Council discussion.
No discussion.
No discussion.
Do I have a motion to proceed to adopt the resolution?
Motion.
I have a motion by
Second.
Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Unanimously, the resolution passes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Proposed resolution number 2017-15. The following resolution was offered unanimously by the Council of the City of Harahan. A resolution to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Harahan and the Parish of Jefferson for the fiscal years 2018 to 2020 to undertake essential community development and housing assistance within the City of Harahan's jurisdiction. Whereas it is the intent of the officials of the City of Harahan to be included in the Irvine County Community Development Block Grant Program, and as a member of the Jefferson Parish Consortium for the Home Investment Partnership Program for the fiscal years 2018 to 2020. Whereas it is necessary to opt in order to be included with Jefferson Parish to receive funds from the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnership Program. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Harahan, acting as the governing authority of said city, that the mayor of the City of Harahan is hereby authorized to execute any documents and to take any action necessary for the City of Harahan to be included with Jefferson Parish in the application. The following resolution having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Anyone wishing to come up and speak to this? If no one wishes to address the council, do I have a motion to close?
Motion.
I have a motion to close, address the council by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Address the council is now closed. Council discussion.
Just got one question. I got a couple calls today about this on the agenda. This is just a renewal, is that correct?
Yes.
And how much money do we get off this? Do you know?
I'm not, don't have it off the
Okay.
top of my head, but it offers assistance to residents for programs.
But it's something that we've always done as a city, it's just a renewal.
Yes.
Miss Lulu, do you know?
No, because we didn't get any in 2016. It was prior to me
We've had it before, but it lapsed for a few years,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Do you guys have any idea how much it is?
Not off the top of my head.
But it's something we have to be involved in if we want to
Correct.
go for
And
the,
it gives the residents opportunities to participate in other programs also. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We
Nay.
have, any opposed?
Nay.
We have 4 yeas, 1 nay. Bodier. Resolution is approved.
Alrighty. Ordinances for approval. Proposed ordinance number 2017-5. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Bodier and seconded by Councilman Hewitt. An ordinance to amend and reordain ordinance number 53, sewage district number 1 of the city of Harahan, and the Harahan Municipal Code, Chapter 90, Article 2, Division 2, user charges, Section 90-58, schedule of charges, providing for a change of user charges for services rendered by the said sewage district.
Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Anyone wishing to come and speak about this ordinance, please feel free to do so. If no one, oh,
Terry Valenti, 191 Colonial Club Drive. I just have a question. Is this the one that Stewart Consulting was talking about?
yes, it is.
That he did not recommend taking away from some of the sewer repairs? As I understand it, that's money that's allocated for repairs that is being used to reduce the user fees to the citizens.
Correct.
Would such action open the city up to, in addition to potentially having sewer problems because of it, would that open the city up to litigation in the future if that money is taken away and diverted back into the user fees? That's, I'm concerned about that.
We can ask that
We have
during
Mr.
council discussion.
Mr. Hugh Martin here from Foley and Judell. I asked him to attend this meeting so we can address this issue. Also, we have Jonathan McFarland from the DEQ here. So, Mr. Hugh Martin, could you please get up? Oh,
Can we
I'm
finish
I'm
address the
sorry. I
council?
apologize. Sorry,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Buddy.
Tommy Buddy,
Hold
7208
on, let me
Stoney
finish
Drive,
this
Harahan. The only comment I have to make about this issue is that when this sewage rate increase was originally presented to the council and passed by the council, it was described, as I recall, as money needed to be in compliance with the DEQ loan. Well, that's about, over a 5-year period, or 6-year period, $1,500,000. This 5% money in a schedule prepared by the city's finance director included that $1,500,000 to pay the DEQ loan, plus $3.5 million of sewage repairs. Now, if that money is necessary, and it may be, it should have been disclosed, debated in public. The public should have known about it. But what happened was that increase was about 3 times more than needed to pay the DEQ loan. Is there money necessary that we have to fund for sewage repairs? I don't have the answer to that, probably, but that's not for me to decide. But this was not done in a transparent manner. It was not explained that it was going to fund $3.5 million of sewage repairs. The council passed it based upon recommendation by the mayor and with lack of complete detail.
Fear and urgency?
Yeah, fear and urgency, lack of transparency.
Yes.
I don't debate that we may need monies for sewage repairs. We all heard that there's another $10 million of sewage repairs. But it ought to be done in an open and transparent manner, and the council should have full information before they vote for these matters. Thank you.
I see Mr. McFarland's here also. What were you going to say?
I was just waiting to close public hearing.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any
Yay.
opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Public hearing is now closed. Mr. McFarland with the DEQ is here, and the city's bond attorney, Mr. Hugh Martin, is here. So they, and I know our city engineer is still here, so that is all beneficial to helping the council have a discussion here today. Mr. McFarland, do you have any comments about what you've heard?
Jonathan McFarland, Administrator.
And I appreciate you being
Yeah,
here.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sure. Thanks for having me back. With the Water Planning and Assessment Division at DEQ, we manage the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which is a loan program at below market rates for municipalities to do sewer improvement projects. Ms. Wheeler asked me to be here to answer any policy or procedure questions you may have from DEQ.
So the main issue, and I don't know if you're at liberty, I know you mentioned that you were going to discuss about the policy and procedures, not the percentage, and I guess that's where Mr. Martin will come in at. So I guess I will reiterate again for this public that this council was notified in September of 2016 on a Monday that the DEQ had already frozen the line and was not going to allow us to draw off any money. So if we had an emergency or catastrophe, y'all were not going to let us draw off any more. Is that correct?
I don't remember the specifics and dates, et cetera.
Okay.
What I do recall is the city was, and Mr. Martin can probably address this more specifically, not in a performance default at the time, and did not have suitable revenue to pay back more money than what had already been drawn.
Okay. So a worksheet was submitted on figures that were generated, my understanding from the mayor, the city engineer, and our city finance director, that was submitted to the DEQ, and with those costs is where we came up with this dollar per gallon. Is that a question maybe for Mr. Martin?
Yeah, that is for
Okay.
y'all to say where you came up with the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there were several iterations of the loan at lower levels, sewer rate levels, that were bandied about between the DEQ, the city, and the city's representatives numerous times, had multiple meetings about meeting the requirements of not only the loan, but the covenants of the bond. So that was what was on the table, and that's what we tackled together, I think everyone did, to try and come into compliance, because we worried about default.
When you mean everyone, you
Who
mean
was
Mr.
everyone?
Heitmeyer, Ms. Lulu, and yourself? Because we were never included in that ever.
You were in meetings with I know that you've met with the DEQ, the bond attorney, city attorney, with Ms. Lulu.
The only meeting that I
And-
recall that we had with the DEQ was on that September Monday,
Yeah.
with the council meeting that following Thursday. We were told that if we didn't vote for this increase, that they had already frozen our availability to draw off. So the words that were used is if we had an emergency or catastrophe, the DEQ was not going to let us draw off any more money. And I think that's due because there were a number of attempts that were made for this so-called plan that y'all had asked for since back in 2015, and the plan was not submitted. And I understand why DEQ, what they did, is you don't give me my plan, then we're not going to let you borrow any more money.
What happened was the loan was taken out in 2013, and Ms. Wheeler, whether you enjoy it or not, the truth is.
Oh, this is enjoyment.
It was taken out in the prior administration. The rates were not increased in a sufficient manner
Okay.
in order to address it.
Okay?
You
came in
I'm not finished. I want to
It's always
interrupt.
about the prior administration.
Yeah, that-
We'll
It
never
is.
take fault
Wait,
for anything.
I would like to finish my sentence. There were also 3 funds that had to be opened when the loan was taken out. It was not. Also, if I shall point out, Councilman Baudier has sat here numerous times and told us about the big sinkhole that was going to swallow a neighborhood from sewer problems. Because the infrastructure has gone without any maintenance or improvements would be wonderful to be able to say, but just minimum maintenance that the system needs. And it's been long overdue. So it was the prior administration and administrations prior that got this infrastructure into the situation that it's in.
Mayor,
So that neglect is on someone else's shoulders. It is this city council and this mayor, this administration who's trying to address it. And I will further state that it wasn't a surprise. The ordinance had been deferred several times because it was on the agenda and deferred. So there were no surprises. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. Did we hash it out over and over? Yes. We were asked to do the numbers. What number iteration are we on? Or that we came to, 11 or 13?
Until 11, when we got the approval from the DEQ.
Correct. And we had meetings with Mr. Martin, with the city attorney, with the DEQ, in order to make sure that we were satisfying all those requirements. And
When-
that's what was submitted.
When were you initially notified by the DEQ? And it's not a payment default, more of a compliance default, is that correct?
I believe it's
Yeah.
performance. default,
Performance,
is that right,
okay.
Ms.
So
Martin?
Mayor, when were you
Performance.
notified initially by the DEQ?
I don't have that record with me. I don't have that record with me.
Well, when I did a public request to the DEQ, because I did a public request to the city, which I still haven't gotten answered, there was a letter sent to the mayor back in 2015. This council was
You're talking about
notified.
the November letter?
November, yes, excuse me. This council was notified at a meeting with DEQ in September of 2016. So,
Okay, so Mr. McFarland, first of all, I want to apologize. Can I speak now? I want to apologize, Mr. McFarland, for having you here going through all of this back and forth. When I started upon this journey with this ordinance, I clearly said, this is not a political battle, Ms. Valenti. This is not a political battle. I never got into this to hurt people. I'm not a councilman because I want to hurt people. And when we came up with the new rate, everyone that was on a fixed income, we were hurting our elderly. People were really struggling. Their bills doubled plus increased. And so when we set up the journey to fix this, or to find a better way, I clearly didn't want it politicized, but the mayor's kind of constantly tell you about the past administration because that's the only platform or soapbox she has to stand on every single council meeting. But I don't want this politicized. I want to do what's right for our citizens. I wanted to do honestly and wholeheartedly what my job is to do, and that is to provide a great service to our councilmen, but not, make it so overburdened that they can't afford to pay to have water to their homes. Now, Mr. Heitmeyer and Ms. Lulu, Ms. Wheeler, myself, Mr. Buddy, and
Bobby Moss.
Bobby Moss all attended the meeting for probably about 3 hours. And the truth is that I really want to thank them for being there, even though we're at political odds because that's the mayor's people, not our people. We don't see. But you know what? I want to thank them for being there because we busted butt for 3 hours and we came up with a new rate and we came up with a way to manage this rate to cut these fees in half so the new projections can be submitted to where we are in compliance with a loan under this new rate. And yes, we had Ms. Valenti come up and she said, well, you know what, we could be in default of doing some things. Well, we never really cut out anything. We increased the timeline. We don't believe that we have to have $2 million or $3 million or $10 million worth of repairs tomorrow. But what we did was we increased the timeline in those repairs in order to get the figures down to where people can actually afford to pay their water bill. And that's all it was. This is not us saying, hey, Harahan doesn't need to be fixed because it does need to be fixed. But does it need to be fixed tomorrow? We don't think so. And hurting people to fix it tomorrow is just not the path that I'm choosing to take at this time. And that was the whole, pretense behind the ordinance. It wasn't to lambast the mayor or the council or Mr. Heitmeyer or everybody putting all their figures together because I still feel like I was in the dark and that's nothing's going to change that. But I want to still do what's right. And for me, this ordinance is right. I do believe that Harahan should pay a little bit more because our taxes are lower than anybody else's. But do I believe we need to drag them through the mud and hurt them? I don't think so. And that's the whole ordinance. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
I have a question for
That's it.
And
Go
just
ahead.
real quick in response to Councilman Baudier, we're very flexible. We want to give you,
Thank
the
you.
elected officials, the flexibility to satisfy the loan requirements as you see best.
Thank you.
So there's a number of ways you can raise that revenue, and we're willing to look at whatever plan you come
See,
up with.
we were told otherwise.
Right, and that's
Thank
what
you
I was,
very
that's what I was
much for
about to tell you,
clarifying.
is when we originally met back then, when y'all came, a week before the meeting, whatever it
was
was,
that
it
Monday
was
we
actually
met the
deferred,
Thursday.
this ordinance was first deferred originally because we didn't have any information when it was going to get voted down. So we were asked to defer it because, to meet with you, the DEQ, and we met with you that week right before. And at the meeting, with the numbers that the city gave you, y'all told us that we have to put it to that dollar amount.
Yeah, we even asked if y'all would let us do a 20% increase, and then maybe we can reevaluate it maybe in 6 months or a year thereafter, and we were declined that. We were told if we did not implement this increase that Thursday, that y'all had already frozen our line.
Right.
So it basically literally put this council bent over a barrel, because God forbid, if there would have been a catastrophe, people would probably be, rioting in the street. Why didn't you do this? You know?
And to reiterate, the figure that the DEQ came up with is not by their design, but was by the design of Mr. Heitmeyer and Ms. Lulu and the mayor. Those projections were given by them. So it wasn't, I don't want to put the DEQ in any blame or fault situation at all. It was our staff that supplied
In the meeting
those
that I
numbers.
was in, the DEQ told us that was the number that they came up with along with the city.
We
And
did
if we
not
didn't,
develop any numbers ever.
yeah, okay, well, that's not what was said during the
We
meeting.
give you
But-
the
right.
authority, you're the only ones that have the authority to set your fees.
Because what was told to us,
and to
Councilman Wheels, when they're
satisfy the
meeting
bond
with me, what was told to us is, this is the rates the city came up with to us, and this is what we need to do to unfreeze your account and to continue giving you the loan.
Right, the city came up with the figures.
Right, but you said that, maybe not you, it was that lady that was with you, but she
Sierra.
said, Sierra, she said that we cannot get no more money, and we will not be released off a hold with money until we up the rate to what was presented.
Until you generate more revenue. You did not have revenue that would allow you to borrow more money. It's up to you how
Right.
to generate the revenue.
So if we
This is one way to
are
do
doing
it.
this now, then what's stopping from y'all stop payment on us
Because
again?
Because we
we're
decreased the capital
That's right, we
expense.
decreased the projections that are being given to DEQ for DEQ requirement to fulfill this rate.
Therefore, you meet the
Right,
110%.
okay, added a repair part,
Yes, sir,
okay.
Okay.
basically.
I went through exhibits 1 through 10 with the mayor, with the
Do
council.
we have that? Do we have this?
This is,
It's not in
this
our
was
packet.
back from before,
Oh, I know, but
originally.
if we're discussing it, we don't have it.
No, because we're talking in broad terms. Remind everybody what happened. I went through 1 through 10. Number 10 is what was sent to Miss Sierra from the DEQ. She refined my debt service payment numbers because my interpretation of what the bond covenant said and my math did not agree with her interpretation and her math, so I changed the principal amount. She agreed with that. Then she asked me an important question. She said that this expenditures has the daily operating expense to actually run the plant day to day. She says, and I know that the DEQ loan only covered a tip of the iceberg of the problems that we have here in the city. We need to have a plan, and those expenses need to be included as part of the operating cost to repair, replace, maintain, and to grow our system, because it's falling apart from what I understand. I'm not an engineer. So I talked to Mr. Hotmeyer, and he came in and he gave us a plan. And we spread it out over 5 years. And this was bare minimum items to get our plan running for the city so it can stay running and it won't collapse upon anybody. When I put those numbers in, had to change the dollar amounts for the residents and the commercial people. That's the math. Yes, I changed the numbers to match what was required per Sierra's request to put repairs and maintenance. She did not say how much repairs and maintenance needed to be put in. That was working with our engineer, how much money it was going to cost. It would cost less money if we were able to put up a lot of money and fix it all at once. You put things over a period of time, it does not work. When I met last week with Ms. Wheeler and Mr. Baudier and the other people present, we just struck out the lift station 6 rerouting from number 8. Just remove the entire line item of $750,000. We then decreased the plant upgrades from $1.3 million to about $852,000 over the 5-year period. There was no engineer who said, okay, this is going to be the new plan. Let's put a Band-Aid here. Let's put some duct tape there and some spit and some prayer and hope it works. This was just striking numbers, decreasing numbers on our upgrades and maintenance to make Mr. Baudier's numbers work. I don't want the high numbers either. But if this is what we need, and I'm relying upon our engineer, this is what we need.
I thank you, Ms. Lulu. Thank you for working with us.
Well, my question is, if the numbers that Ms. Lulu and Sierra came up with had to be approved, have the numbers, the new numbers that you all came up with, have they been approved by the DEQ?
I have not sent this new schedule to the DEQ. I don't know if they have, but I don't see how I can turn this in and say that these are good numbers because I do not feel in my heart that the repair numbers is accurate. We arbitrarily struck out an entire thing that needed to be done.
So Ms. Lulu, when we met Tuesday night, excuse me, Susan, your specific question at the end was as long as we were at that 110%. That's what we were fixated on. It was never discussed about, oh, this is not enough, this is this. We're not.
We said that it needed to be done. Calvin said these other things are important, need to be done,
And
and
we
we do not know.
reiterated to Calvin, and I will say again, nobody here in this city is denying that these repairs need to be done. And I think from going from $1.3 million to 8 something really isn't that big of an issue. And we talked about, we can evaluate this in a year from now. Y'all are making it sound like we're stripping everything. So, Ms. Valenti, just to reiterate, it was $1.3 million to 8 something. It's not that much. We're trying to relieve some burden off. We can reevaluate this 6 months from now,
And
a year from
removed-
now. Am
and
I not
removed
correct?
And on top of that, we have capital money if we need
That's right.
to do
Which
something.
that was something too,
Well,
the
that's- well, but
DEQ had
that's
said
an
that
issue
we
we need to
couldn't
address.
transfer
Wait.
funds.
I'm trying to just make sure everybody's
Okay.
one at a time.
We need to address that with Mr. Martin. Mr.
Okay.
McFarland is
About
going to address
using-
it.
Mr.
using
McFarland,
funds.
my questions to you again. Defining operations and maintenance and what has to be contained in that cost.
And I'll defer that to your staff as
Correct.
well.
Okay.
He's only going to
Um,
talk about policies and procedures. Mr. Foley, Mr. Martin will address the figures.
Well, Tim, you said, I asked you specifically at the last meeting, were you going to provide the DEQ with your numbers? And you said yes, and you were going to have someone come here. But in all, due respect, are you the right person to be addressing whether these numbers are correct or not?
We haven't seen them, and I personally would not be the one to review those at the department.
So I feel that we should have someone from your department who would be able to say whether the numbers were correct or not should be here. And I think they should be provided with a copy. I don't want to vote on something that could have bad ramifications, and I'm not saying that it
Well,
would.
and let me tell you, I did address that with Mr. McFarland, and he directed me to either speak to the bond attorney and/or city attorney, and I spoke to Mr. Martin, and I believe some of the questions may be
Okay,
answered when
all right.
Mr. Martin gets up to speak.
I
But,
agree.
but
Because he said he would only address policy and procedures. He's not going to talk about cost and dollar per, so that's why I followed his direction, and I reached out to Mr. Hugh Martin.
Right.
And-
You've got professionals on staff. and
Right.
That can answer those
But
questions
at
much
the
better than me.
end of the day, it will be the DEQ who approves or disapproves what's, the numbers that we provide, correct?
Right. Each year, you submit your financial statements, and we do review those.
And also, isn't there, the engineer has to present a plan also, correct? I believe?
We do.
Attesting to,
Well, that's not financial. We just approve the public works contracts as part of the public bid process. But that's a separate issue from the bond covenants.
And I thought any change had to be approved by the DEQ, any change in rates, and that we could only do it one time per year.
You're not limited to one time per year, as far as I know. Mr.
No.
Martin can
I
clarify.
misunderstood that.
But like I said, we do review the financials each year and confirm that you're still in compliance.
Actually, don't we have an ordinance saying it's pretty open-ended? How often we would
We can
review and
review
change?
it.
So it isn't
But-
annually, it's really open-ended as to
That's why we said it
whenever.
could be 6
No,
months.
I know.
I think we talked about
I
that a few
wasn't
months ago,
talking
that we
about-
don't have a specific, that we do it
Right.
annually, or.
No,
But
I
you're
thought there was
supposed-
something in the bond covenants that said they could only be done at the
According to the
beginning of the
ordinance, it just
year.
says
and
you're supposed to
change-
budget for the year.
I might be miss.
We'll let
Handle this
We'll let
Mr.
Mr. Martin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Martin's on,
Well, Jonathan, thank you for
Yeah,
coming. I
thank you,
certainly
thank you.
appreciate it.
this council's not hostile, Mr. McFarland. We really want to do what's right, I promise. All right,
Mr. Hugh?
Let's go. Now, we might get a little hostile now, Mr. Hugh.
Let's just talk about a little bit about the process. But first of all, I want to read to you from, remember Mr. David Wolf, who was here with the DEQ, one of my former law partners, helped train the guy, by the way. He sent this email to me, and I think the city had copies too, describing what they mandate and what they don't mandate. And here's what he says. DEQ requires the city to make, 1, all deposits to the sinking fund, that's to retire the debt on the bonds. The reserve fund, that's a fund that's built up over years, being reserved in case you have a catastrophe, you know, like a hurricane or something, and you'd be knocked out for months and wouldn't generate enough monthly service charge to pay your bonds that you can draw upon as reserve fund. And the depreciation fund, where you put 5% a month to help build up a fund for future repairs and maintenance, extraordinary maintenance that you wouldn't do. And he goes on to say, Ordinance 1765, you make these payments, principal and interest due, when due, and demonstrate net revenues each year of 110% or more of the largest amount of debt service on the bond issued due in any future year. So you have to pay your maintenance and maintenance expense, maintenance and repairs on the current needs and debt service, and have 110% of that amount necessary. He further says that in calculating the coverage ratio, the city may take into account monies other than user fees to the extent that the monies are A, legally available to be used for the sewer system, and B, actually appropriated for such purpose. So in addition to your user fee charges, which come in as revenue that are necessary to make your 110% coverage, if you have other funds available to the sewer system and they actually appropriated for that reason, you can use those funds to add to the monthly charge to meet the 110% test. So then the question is, how does this really work in reality? In reality, what you have to do, and the ordinance requires this, you have to adopt a budget which will show your estimated income, your estimated O&M expenditures, the repairs you're going to have to make. But these repairs are limited in the normal operation to things that are normally operation and maintenance expenses that would be many of them reoccurring, like your power, your salaries, your chemicals, the insurance and things of those natures you know you're going to have every year. That's all part of the operation and maintenance that has to be provided for. In addition to that, you have already identified some major problems coming up in the future, some of which you can address out of these same funds and still probably meet your 110%. Now, you never know if you actually met that amount until really the end of the year. When you get to the end of the year and you know what expenditures you actually had as compared to your budget, and whether the income came in at the rate that you expected. So each year, at least, you have to make a determination as to where you stand on meeting your 110%. And DEQ has to be provided with that rate, and they will concur with you or maybe not concur with you at that time. But you have a chance, not only a chance, you have an obligation each year to address that, and if you have to make a change, if you have to up fees or make some other adjustment or postpone some maintenance that maybe is postponed, you have to come up with a new plan, so to speak. Now, in addition to your O&M budget, you have a capital budget. These are long-term items, maybe longer-term items than just a regular O&M. Things are gonna happen down the road that you already maybe can identify are already headed the wrong way, are gonna need repairs. When those amounts are really a large amount, then there's another way to finance those, and that's by getting assistance, again, from the EQ, for assistance in maybe in a new project, which would require you then, permit you then to spread that payment over the years or however long the bond issue might last. That, the effect thereof lowers your annual requirement to make the repayment, just like buying a house. You can't go, most people cannot afford to go plunk cash on the barrel head and buy a new house, but they can get a 30-year mortgage and have a payment that's affordable. It's the same, excuse me, same way with a new bond issue to handle future needs. So that there's a lot of estimating that has to be done, and each year you have to prove up that your revenues and operation was sufficient. If they weren't sufficient, you have to make immediate adjustments so it will be sufficient. You don't have to wait a whole year. You can, and you shouldn't wait. The shape we're in here in Harahan, we should not wait a whole year. We ought to do it at least quarterly. Some places even do it more often than that. But to foresee what's coming down the line so that if you get to a point somewhere during the year and you say, no, it's obvious that our income is insufficient, then you can make an adjustment then to prevent a problem. So that's basically it. Now, the city has other funds. The exact amount right now, I think, is up in the air because we have changed auditors, and there's some funds that have to be reconciled each other to determine exactly where we are. But there are some funds in your sewer fund, and some, I think, perhaps with the monies from a video poker and other areas that's in your capital fund that could be available if you had to help make up the 110% shortfall that you would have. So I think you've got some insurance now, at least on the short-term basis, to see if this would work. But it better be monitored very, very closely to be sure we don't get in trouble. Because I don't think anyone right now really knows for sure exactly how it's going to work out. We think it should be all right, and it appears it should be. We can't be positive.
Mr. Martin, when we were assessing, the city's engineers were assessing the system, they rated some of the issues as critical and staged it. And we came up with basically a grading system. And some of the issues,
Who rated it?
the city engineer,
Okay.
and really put us worrying about imminent failure on a number of fronts
Yeah.
when it comes to the sewer system and the treatment plant, because for many years things weren't addressed. For instance, we had a sewer line on Bailey scheduled to be fixed. It was rated as critical. It would have cost us maybe about, what, $25,000 to repair. The loan wasn't available to use at that point. It had to be done emergently, and we're upwards of $80,000+ on that repair. So by putting some of our maintenance off, I fear it's going to cost more money before we could get to it, because we're going to have failures. We have a failure that we have been recently told about on lift station 8. And Calvin, can you just come up and,
Can I ask one question, Ms. Lulu? How much money do we have in capital project? How much money do we have in the capital project? All right, so we have $850,000, $850,000 of your dollars, you at home watching and everybody else, we have $850,000 of your dollars sitting in the bank, just sitting there. I mean, if I got $850,000 of my money in the bank, I want to be using it, making it, working it, making money for me. And in order to do the repairs, as the mayor said, we should do the repairs now because it will save us in the long run. But we have $850,000, and granted, I know we shouldn't use it all, but we definitely can use that $850,000 as emergency repair. That is a lot of money. That is almost $1 million.
Yeah, and don't we get the 300,000 from Video Poker at the end of the year? So potentially we could be over $1 million at the end of 2017 if we don't exhaust anything from capital.
Right, although we have the paving, we just mentioned, was at 300,000, and then the drainage was 500, or vice versa.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are programs that we can do if the city chooses to do them.
but would you talk about the critical repairs? And there again, if we're going to use city funds, I would certainly rather spend $25,000 doing a repair than over $80,000 doing the repair in an emergency situation.
Wait, Kevin, one quick question. Mayor, didn't we do a resolution to pull 40,000 from capital for the Bailey Street project?
Correct, but I'm
Okay,
saying that
so
I'm using that as an example of the
So it's
assessment.
not 80. So it
No,
was
we have-
25. We
had
approved 40.
3 failures.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm getting the numbers right.
We had 3 failures that were each 25-ish and change, that were done through Veolia, who is your sewer manager, who does the work, who then contracts it out. That worked out to about $80,000, maybe 79, but there were 3 separate failures within less than a 1-block area. 2 of them at 1 manhole and 1 25 feet away.
So-
Ultimately, they were caused by others. I mean, they were caused by both Jefferson Parish and DOTD drainage leaks.
Which we have
and-
not gotten.
Which we haven't gotten
So they
reimbursed for.
subsidize the difference on the
They-
bill?
they
Okay,
should.
They should, okay.
As of
But
yet,
we
that
have
hasn't
no
occurred yet.
promise, as far as that.
So has the city paid for the work in full and is waiting for reimbursement?
I can't answer that. I don't know if we've paid them or not. So
Mr.
that I
Calvin,
don't
can I
know.
ask
Can
you a
you answer
question?
that, ma'am?
We've made those payments. We have petitioned correct? And we have petitioned Jefferson Parish on a number of fronts. I've presented that to Councilman Johnston's office. I've presented it to the Water Department. We've presented it to, what's the other department that?
Streets? Was it?
Street,
I
right.
think so.
So where did y'all get the difference to pay this, to make it whole? Where did y'all pull that from? I understand that, Linda. I'm talking about, did you have a line item? Did you pull it from general? Did you pull it from, where did you pull it from? Because we gave y'all 40 from capital, so there's potentially 40,000 that y'all have paid.
I think we
Well,
might have had something in the line item already. Is that how it was for
Well,
last
there's no
year?
money in capital,
No,
so
for
y'all could.
16. It was 16. We'd have to go and pull.
We did that ordinance in 16? I thought it was the beginning of this year. This
The
Bailey thing
failure
just
was in
happened.
16. The failure
I know,
was-
but I know, I
Failure was
thought the
in
ordinance was at the beginning of 17.
But the failure was in 16.
No, I'm not doubting that. I
Right.
thought the ordinance that was in 17. So if we took 40 from capital, but the bill's 80, And I
There may
want to
have been
know,
money in capital already for 16, and this was.
so y'all can
for the
pull money
total.
from capital? I thought you had to need an ordinance to pull from capital to pay
In
bills.
16, we had.
That's
an
why it's all
ordinance.
zeros this year.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Calvin, I have just one quick question. All right, so my rate generates over $500,000 a year, plus the 850 that we have in capital projects right now. How much more do you see? Let me ask you this question first. Capital projects, that's pretty much what you're in. On the reverse end, it's kind of what you're in charge of. Everything you do is a capital project as our city engineer. Is that correct?
I do, most of what I've been doing has been maintenance, has been
But it
been
comes out of capital
resolving
project?
if it's big enough, but no, I mean, a lot of it is the sewer repair program.
Okay.
We've done no streets. The drainage work that we have done has been related to cleaning, and a bulk of that has been through the LEGAP program.
Awesome.
So we've gotten grants for some of that. We've also gotten Jefferson Parish's participation in some cleaning of the drainage through
Asked for
various.
assistance, they were very nice.
You know, so we've been working, I've tried not to spend anything but the $4 million.
Right. So we
In
got.
all honesty, that's where I have done the bulk of my expenditures has been related to that program.
So we got a $500,000 a year coming in from the new rate, or a little over. We got the 850,000 in capital, and if we,
You have, what, 2 point something of our $4 million loan,
right?
right?
And
We've
We've-
used
Well,
1
we've
point-
got $1.4 million that's committed. We've got $1 million, after that is expended, we'd have $1.3 million-ish available of the $4 million.
Okay.
We have at least one
2.7 available, 1.4 already earmarked.
so my point being is that we gotta be, we can't, I understand we can't be in that bad a shape.
It doesn't sound like it.
We can work, I believe, we can work within the proposed budget. I am just cautioning you that you're in a critical nature. We are maintaining by failure. Once our failures occur, we've got to fix them. They get a little bit more expensive. We are trying to get ahead of that. We are trying to do some design on Pump Station 8 that we know we have a problem with. It's going to be more of a logistical issue than it is a hard problem.
Right.
You know, because, you just can't do two things at once in the same hole. But that's what we got to do. So we can work through this, without a doubt. If you ask me what we should do, I'm going to tell you what we should do. And that's what we did when we worked out the original numbers.
Right.
What we can do is always, it's one of the things you do as an engineer, you work within the available budget.
Well, I know when we met, we had quite a bit of questions about the capital project money, and could we use it, could we not use it? Well, I mean, Mr. Hugh, from what I understand, is telling us we can use it. So we have
Right.
$850,000 there, ready to
I
rock
would
and roll.
think we can. Clearly, we don't want to spend it all in this one spot.
Right.
I could. Be
Don't
more than
wanna-
happy to. But that's, we've got a number of engineers that we're working with in the city that would like to have them do some additional design for us.
Perfect.
Mr. Martin, I'm sorry, Calvin, hold on one second. You had mentioned that there are obviously monies in other accounts, but we don't know the exact figures, right? And you had mentioned something about that apparently there's an audit that'll be coming due. So we will have a better idea, I think it's June 30th or something, of exactly what's where, because we're saying there's this money, but nobody's really confirmed that the money's actually there, except for maybe capital, right? Because I know you said something about the sewer fund that had some money in there. And I know Mr. Martin had showed us kind of a sheet that was provided that had like $2 million in this sewer fund, like 2.2 million. And then you had capital, and then I think there was general, and there was something else, like the reserve fund. So, what's that, dear? Sales tax. Okay, I apologize. So we can,
Yes, you have monies that could be.
we just
you
don't
have
know
to amend
exactly
your
what's
budgets
there
and transfer.
until this audit comes out. But that's money that we can use as the other monies,
Yeah,
correct?
correct.
So we can still, I'm
But
sorry.
that was something, too, Mr. McFarland, Mr. Wolf had said specifically that we could not just take our ending fund balances, which are lush in some of the accounts on paper, and move it over to the sewer fund to make these repairs or our daily operating activities, that it had to be something that was dedicated and renewable, and the only source that we have is the video poker money. So we could take a hunk of that or all of that and move it over according to what Mr. Wolf said, not just do an infusion from the capital project fund, which is what he told us. We could not just use an infusion. He also said we could not just use our ending fund balance for their sewer fund. He said it has to be, the 110% has to be met within the year. The calculations of
Yeah,
revenues.
You have to meet each year's obligation. But you also can include other funds as long as they're legally available for that purpose. The email I read you, that's why I brought this, is acknowledgement by them that you can use these funds. Now, you hate to use them because you want to keep them for emergency.
But can you reiterate the sentence you said before about the maintenance on current needs before you mentioned about other monies from that email?
Well, what it says is you have to make all deposits in the sinking fund, the reserve fund, and the depreciation fund. That's debt service, that's principal and interest each year. But before you get to that, you have to first have operated the system. The ordinary operation is going on, drawing funds each year. So that comes first, and then you make these payments.
At issue is trying to get us to a point where we have normal operations and maintenance, normal maintenance.
Yes.
And the city's not there. Sadly, it isn't. I want any opportunity to decrease our sewer rates, but I want to make sure that we're very clear about the critical place that we are.
That's why I say I think you need to monitor this
And we will.
carefully as time goes on, because you don't want to
We
go
will.
too far down the
Promise.
road and find out something's not working.
Because now, there are things that we put in requests for capital outlay so that it wouldn't go into operations and maintenance, and hopefully, to get that. That's not included in the rates. The new problem with the Pump Station 8. And
That usually be handled by a capital,
We discussed
by a capital project.
And so, the pump station 8, none of the 1.4 or 1.3 that's already earmarked is not to fix
It
pump 8.
wasn't intended there. I've talked to Mr. McFarland today, and we can certainly change the plan we have as far as what we were going to
Priorities,
use.
right? I
We
mean,
can
when you came
adjust.
to us about 2 months ago and you told us about all the repairs that equaled millions of dollars,
We still have those $10 million in
and the
repairs
thought
we need
was,
to do.
gosh, that's a lot of
And
That's
they're
a lot of
still out
repair and
there.
maintenance and upgrades for something all of a sudden to be put on the city that there's no way we can do it, therefore.
It is, and
Just like
again-
everybody would do with their household, you say, well, we really need this, and in 6 months we'll buy that, and then next year we'll do this.
And again,
So-
as
Which I know
Councilman-
that's what you're doing, we're gonna
Right.
prioritize as,
Councilman Bodier talked about extending things out and, potentially changing from one program. Instead of doing the line repairs, one discussion was to do the Pump Station 6 augmentation of 8 now and do line repairs in years 5, 6, 7, and 8, which are outside of at least the current projection of these rates.
and if there is a catastrophe or an urgent
We have the
matter that
money.
no one wants to happen, we have $850,000 in a capital fund just in case.
That'll be over $1 million a year if we don't touch it.
Okay.
But also, I'm just trying to put all the information on the table, that the city minus the sewer, cannot function without capital money. That there are things on a normal day-to-day operation that we require capital money. One, we've got lots of need, looking down the near future, for a brand-new fire truck. And Chief, how much does that cost?
About 500,000.
500,000, that's it. Just for that piece of equipment. We've got,
We'll have to finance that over 30 years, okay?
but what I'm saying is, that's only
At a 1.9%.
one of the issues. And also, just day-to-day, if you're doing computer upgrades, you buy a new piece of equipment, that's money that the city requires. So capital, the video poker brings in about $300,000 per year. And it's a heavy lift for that $300 to meet all the needs, emergent needs at this point. At some point, I think it's gonna get better, but at this point, it's a heavy lift to expect that we can meet all the,
We pull in about 300 video poker and we spend about 300 video poker. The capital project fund balance has really not changed.
I was gonna say, of 6 years, it has
6
been
years.
$850,000 in our capital fund.
And the projections that we did that night, Dana, like Calvin said, we didn't eliminate everything. We just reduced to help people at this moment right now.
Yeah.
And
Well, this is
a little
this
deferred,
is
and we're not talking
exactly-
deferring it 5, 10, 20 years down the road. I think
Yeah.
we added maybe potentially 2 years, as we
Yeah.
talked about, maybe instead of this 2022, I think we talked about 2024 maybe. So believe me, I don't want people to think, oh my God, we're not gonna have any money if something happens. There's money there for repairs to be done. Do we all know that they need to be done? Yes. In my opinion, do they need to be done immediately at this moment? Probably not. But they need to be done, and there's still money there to do it. But to go from 225 to 575, people can't afford it.
100+%.
Almost,
Double-
yeah, it's
double your bill
almost,
plus.
it's like almost 300%.
Well,
It's a lot.
the conversations we're having tonight, and thank you so much, Mr.
Yes,
Martin,
thank
and
you.
thank you so
For
much,
such
Mr.
short notice,
McFarland.
too. I appreciate it.
Were where we were all,
Back in September.
as decision makers, trying to get to this end of this information in September of 2016. And unfortunately, maybe we didn't ask the right questions, maybe we could not get to where we are tonight. So I commend Councilman Bodier. Thank you for putting this back up. Thank you for challenging the ordinance that's on the table and that was approved, that none of us felt good about, and carrying you guys, pushing us forward to make those meetings happen and for us to have this conversation tonight, because what we're doing tonight makes sense. We're discussing openly and transparently the issues, and we're talking about facts, and actually, we're problem solving together. So this is awesome.
Well, thank you.
It's great.
So I have another question. So, am I correct in thinking that the DEQ will have to approve these new rates?
At the end of the year, they look
Not
at,
until the end of the year?
normally that's when you do it. At the end of the year, they will look at your operations and run the traps, so to speak, see if we made it or not.
Right,
Okay.
but that's if we're
And
at
if
the
we didn't,
110%.
then you're gonna have to have a
Correct.
plan immediately put in
Well, and
effect.
Sue, just so you know that
Yeah.
we do know that we will have to increase it some.
Right.
We do not believe that we will have to increase it 110%. We're thinking 0.02% on a quarterly or
Right.
bi-monthly basis throughout,
Until
you
it
know,
gets where it
till it
needs
gets where it needs to
I
be.
just thought,
Starting
though,
when
that
did you figure that?
they said that.
We're
when
probably
if
figuring somewhere at the
There was any change,
January.
we had to notify them.
Well, and it does state that, but as long as it also states if you're in your 110%, and we
okay.
had the spreadsheet that was in front of all of us, and we calculated out the years.
everybody.
And with this year, it kind of like, we have some rates that were collected at higher amount, so I think this would start in August. So we have some at the higher amount and some at this 425. So we clearly have enough potentially for this 2017 year, correct?
Yeah, 18 was the bad
Eight-
year where we actually weren't able to do any plant upgrades whatsoever. And
I thought we had some upgrades.
no.
We maintained the 150,000.
We kept the 150, okay, so it's not like there's nothing.
And I think we supplemented with 65,000 in capital.
Capital.
That's correct.
Okay. And we said that that's something that we can evaluate and address
As we go.
as we go.
So this question is to Ms. Lulu, that you don't feel you can stand behind these new rates?
Well, Ms. Lulu's the engineer, don't you?
She's the accountant.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be an engineering question.
After listening to Mr. Hugh and Mr. Calvin, I think we should bring up the vote.
This was excellent, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Martin.
And, Mr. Martin, I just have, I guess I should have stopped you before you sat down. if we're changing the plan, even though we're required to present yearly if we've met our requirements or not to the DEQ. But if we're changing the plan at this point, is there a requirement to the DEQ, to notify the DEQ?
Well,
Because then aren't we, we're changing everything, we're changing projections.
you're doing that, but as long as you check along the way, I think, as long as you show that during your operations, it's making your calculations and projections to show that you're qualifying, I think you'll be all right. You can always give an interim report if it were required by DEQ, but normally they wait till the end of the year and you send in your results, and they run it through the traps and decide whether or not you met it. And if you don't, we hear from them very,
You just say a
very
prayer and
quickly.
hope they don't call, right?
Yeah.
So Mr. Martin's just saying they check on you annually. Our ordinance says it's open-ended. We can look at it and change it every month if we
And Mr.
wanted to.
McFarland said DEQ's here to help us, not hurt us. They
Yes.
want to help us.
That's good to know.
Thank you.
Great job, Tim.
Thank you again. No.
No. Any further council discussion?
No.
Before we proceed with the vote, I just want everyone, our residents, everyone to understand that this is a riskier plan and holds the potential for more failures at certain points, whether it's in backyards of people's housing, et cetera, where some of the sewer problems are. We're gonna have, it's a much riskier situation.
Man,
And
I
if-
hate to differ with you, but I don't believe so. I do believe that we're generating over $500,000 a year, plus 850,000 sitting in the bank.
Plus 2.7 left of your loan with the
I
DEQ.
don't think it's a riskier situation. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to argue with you, but I just do not agree.
I'm just expressing my own concerns and that
Same.
I don't want us to be paying 2 to 3 times for, more
Agreed.
expensive repairs.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to adopt the ordinance? I have a motion by
Motion.
Councilman Johnston, seconded by,
Wait, hold on.
a what?
We got the wrong date on here. Section 3, effective April 1st, 2017.
No, that was from when it was supposed to originally be.
That was from the
August
original.
1st.
2017 before we adopt.
Okay.
So someone needs
Section
to.
3. You want to amend that?
I'll make a motion to amend Section 3, the user charges shall become effective on August 1st,
2017.
2017.
Or June 1st?
Mark?
Yeah, why August?
Oh, let's go June?
Whenever, it's up to
Well,
you.
no, because the way the billing cycle falls,
it'll
it
have
has
to
to
go
start
August.
August. Yeah, we discussed that.
Gotcha.
Huh?
Okay, I have a motion to amend,
Section
So-
3, line 41.
Yep, Section 3, line 41, to the user charges shall become effective on August 1st, 2017 versus April 1st, 2017.
would you like to use your copy as the written note to hand to the city
Sure.
council for the amendment, to document the amendment?
Perfect.
I have a motion by Councilman
Second.
Chaudier to
Second.
amend the date as stated, seconded by Councilman Johnston. All in favor?
Yeah,
Yay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have 4 yeas, 1 nay. Amendment passes. Any other amendments?
No.
Do I have a motion to accept ordinance as amended?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have 4 yeas, 1 nay. Ordinance passes.
Next one was withdrew already.
Mr. Hugh, thank you so much.
We are publicly stating that this is a change in operations and will require a budget amendment. And Ms. Lulu, thank you for pointing that out. Okay. The next ordinance was withdrawn. Ordinance 2017-7. Madam Clerk, we're on proposed ordinance 2017-8.
The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Johnston and seconded by Councilman, who would like to second this? Blighted property.
I'll second.
Hewitt?
Seconded by Councilman Wheeler.
Wheeler? Where is it? An ordinance amending ordinance number 1822, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana.
Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. It's open to public hearing. If no one's wishing to speak to public hearing, do I have a motion to close?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Council discussion.
I would just like to ask Ms. Lulu, I had a couple comments, you helped me write this up. They have 3 different lines on here. Can you explain a little bit about what all 3 lines do?
Okay, the line 21 says 341, that's our capital project fund. So on the capital project fund, we're transferring to the general fund for the purpose of blighted property, $10,000. Line 23 is the general fund, 010. That's a transfer in from the capital projects fund for the blighted property for $10,000. And then line 25 is the actual expense on the general fund to pay for expenses related to fixing up blighted properties, $10,000. So it's an out on the capital project, an in on the general, and then an expense on the general.
Gotcha.
And this is what we had basically originally proposed for the 17 budget that was amended to take it out, and now it's basically
Put it
being
back,
put back in.
Correct.
And the purpose of this is you need to have some operating capital in order to fix blighted property. And if you have to fix it, then you can put a lien on the property, and when it gets paid back, it can become basically a revolving fund. So the amount of money was something that was, it's a educated guess on what we've used in the past, and we'll let the council know, we'll see how it goes from
Okay, so
there.
let me just reiterate. So you're taking 10,000 from capital, you're putting it in the general fund.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're taking from general fund and putting it into the capital project fund? So
No.
you create a line that says capital project funds, blighted property? It just seems like there's an extra step in there somewhere, like if we're taking it from general and putting it in capital.
We're taking it from capital and putting it to general. That's the expense to transfer out. The first one's to transfer out from capital. The second line,
Out of from general to capital.
no.
Well, you said there's no money in capital, so we have to take it out of general to
We're
put it
giving this line item a transfer.
from capital.
On 341, there is a line item that says transfer to general fund.
From capital. That's where
No.
it's coming from, right?
We're within the capital project fund. 341 means capital project. The line item is 4110, 449,
Okay.
010. So within the capital project, I created a line that says transfer to the general fund blighted property
So you're increasing the capital project line,
from 0 to 10,000.
and where is that 10 coming from? The general fund?
No.
No, it's coming from
coming
the
from the total of the
from the
capital.
ending fund balance of capital.
They have a total for capital, it's just not earmarked
not
to
allocated.
the different allocations, right?
Okay, that's where I was a little confused.
Okay.
I just didn't, that's what's not correct, I didn't understand how, okay. So there's money allocated to capital, it was just, well,
It's-
there was a like
Carrie,
amount,
it's in
it
the
just
cloud.
needs to be
Yeah.
specifically allocated
You
to
ha-
what
you
it's
have
there
a,
for.
you have a total on there.
Okay.
But we have to make the lines go to where.
Okay.
Just like we're
got it.
doing the pool in a little while. We
Okay.
have to put from
That's
the
why
bottom
when
into
we
a
did the
line.
budget and we zeroed out all the lines, so we have to put it back
Back.
into the line in order to.
Okay, just, it seemed a little confusing.
Any further questions?
No discussion.
No?
Can I have a motion to proceed with acceptance of the ordinance?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance passes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, proposed ordinance number 2017-9. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Benton. An ordinance to amend and reordain Section 78-31A, Section 78-32, and Section 78-44 of the Harahan Municipal Code to provide for the collection of solid waste and refuse by the city or contractors selected by it, to provide for the imposition of charges for the collection, removal, disposal, and recycling of solid waste and refuse, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And who would like to second this ordinance? It was offered by Ben. Anyone like to second this ordinance before I read all that? I'm sorry.
Without it, we can't do the recycling program.
I'll second and talk about it.
Councilman Johnston.
Seconded by Johnston.
Sure.
Okey doke.
Okay, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Wheeler, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Public hearing.
Jason Brudick, 7204 Stoneleigh still, and go ahead and give you another second to go ahead and set up your
Wait,
clock.
hold on, please.
It's all good.
Just go,
I'm
Jason, go, go,
multitasking.
go.
All right, go on.
I want to know, this particular bill or ordinance is to establish a fee for recycling? Is that what I just heard? Because I thought that should have been wrapped up with the original garbage contract like the old one was. And so I'm wondering, why are we going to be discussing an ordinance for recycling when that seems to me that ship's already sailed? We've already lost that opportunity when we wiped it out of that first contract. The Romelli contract, I actually went looking for it online today, and I couldn't find it because I wanted to double check and see if there was any kind of a provision in there, because I wanted to remind myself about it. So my question to the council and to you, Mayor, is why are we doing this now? Why didn't you do it the first time? It doesn't make any sense. It should have just been wrapped up with the first contract. So, see, I didn't even use my 3 minutes. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion.
I have a couple of maybe amendments. I was reading through this. One question I have is on page 3, line 66, where it designates what the rate will be. And I know previously, Progressive and Waste Solutions was charging the $220 per month. So my understanding is if we impose this fee, then the city has the right to enter into a contract for another recycling provider, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would like that to maybe read not to exceed $220 a month, because what if a company comes in and it's only $2 a month?
Well, we wouldn't, you can't,
Why can't we?
well, no, I'm just saying that you can't gouge a.
No, and I understand what the 220 was, and my understanding that it appears that maybe whatever company may come in, and I think that company's already been decided on, actually has
Who
agreed
is
to.
it? Because I have no idea who you're talking about.
Well, it was discussed with several council members that, actually, Mr. Romelli himself said that if we approve this $220 a month, which is what it previously was, that he would, let me correct myself, he would be more than glad to provide the recycling service to the city. So it wouldn't surprise me if Romelli wants to be in our recycling, but I could be wrong. I just think it should read not to exceed $220, because I think if another contractor comes in and bids it and it's less,
But why would we even put an amount?
because I think that's what it was before.
I know, but if it's a law, right? And so in 8 years with CPI and whatever, why would we put an amount? I'm just asking. Because what if it's $4 in 5 years?
We've had a
Well, I
some
think
discussions about the
Like,
rates.
why wouldn't we just say the city wants to offer citizens recycling, which we already did, but we didn't have it in writing in law? So we want to now, and this is what we'll move forward with, but why would we put,
Well, I think it kind of
A
fixates a
price.
fee on whoever's bidding in cannot exceed this amount.
well, we don't say exceed, we give them the exact amount.
Well, no,
they
that's
pay.
why I'm saying it should not
Right.
exceed.
I know, but what
Right.
I'm saying is why even put an amount? You bid, we review, we say yay, we say nay.
It's actually a pretty good question, Councilman. At subsection C of the existing ordinance and this ordinance as amended, pretty much gives the city the ability to do that. It says any increases in cost of the city for garbage and trash collection and disposal and/or recycling services are authorized to be billed to the users of such services. So basically, it's authorized.
That's line 84.
A pass-through.
That's the paragraph 84 to 87.
So,
That's what you're.
City Attorney Burris and I have had several discussions about fees, how the fees are established, and how the ordinances in the past have been written and trying to proceed and clarify things moving forward.
I just wanted to make sure that you had the recycling stuff
Right,
included in
yeah.
your ordinance. And I just picked the 220 up from what was being billed before.
Okay.
It's
But would you agree that why even put a number?
I was just trying to
We
be
could just
consistent with the way it had been drafted, so, but yeah, I don't
It
think
could
we need
just
to
be a
put that.
pass-through charge.
That's what
it's
subsection C
bid.
seems to authorize.
And listen, not to belabor this, but I mean, Ms. Jason's comments of, we canceled a contract currently of a provider that we had for years that I believed that the city was happy with. We went out to bid to choose a new vendor, which had recycling included, which we then arbitrarily quickly said, take it out. We don't want any recycling in our bids. Don't even give us your quote because we're not interested. To then 2 months later, we're going to rebid recycling? And I'm, again, not belaboring, and I'm just having to say that this is what has occurred, right?
But
But,
there
so
is-
I'm curious, if this is Councilman Benton's ordinance, could you just explain or help me understand if we wanted to do away, or the mayor wanted to do away with recycling 3 months ago, why is it important now to bring it back?
I'd like to address, since you
'Cause-
said what
'cause you
I
had-
wanted.
Yeah, because Mayor, you had
What's
even
her
said, you know, yeah, it's
This
Sue's
is-
ordinance, that's why I was asking. But Mayor, you had even stated, you know, you tried to get data from our other vendor, Progressive, and you knew at one point in time, we had 40% of our population using recycling, which to me, that is a large amount of folks that were using recycling. And that you wanted to get more up-to-date data, but they wouldn't share that with you, because at the time, they probably knew their contract was ending, so why oblige you? So, but we knew 40% of our population was using it. We chose a new vendor. When we sent the bid out, we said, do not give us any recycling information or cost, because we don't want it. And 3 months later, we're wanting it.
No, that's not, what we need to establish, just as we established many, many years ago, the ability to apply a garbage fee. Not necessarily what the fee is, but the ability to apply the fee and where. That doesn't exist in Harahan ordinance on how to, in our municipal code, to establish, this is the service, this is where the fee's gonna be. Now, we have the ability to have fees and make it a pass-through charge so that this is what the best bids came in, this is what the fee has to be. For the sake of clarifying and for transparency, we put the fee in there. It doesn't have to be, but in order to do the service and apply a fee, we have to have an ordinance to do that.
I understand, that's what we're doing in the ordinance.
Right.
But now we're going out to bid a service that we said 4 months ago, we do not want, we are not interested. Because enough of our citizens do not recycle, which was
That's not
incorrect
what
because
we
40.
said. That's not what was said.
Okay,
What was said is we asked for data so we could get information.
and the data was 30 to 40%.
But we only had 3 months of data.
That's a nice amount.
And we didn't have all the information as to what was really being recycled, quite frankly, to really know what was going on. They didn't give us specifics. It was very general. And that data was from the first 3 months of 2015. Also, when you went out to bid, that not all companies do solid waste and recycling. So it was also a benefit to separate them out so that we could get better numbers on either from
But they
from
weren't
either
separated out,
party.
it was removed.
Correct.
But we couldn't impose a service without an ordinance. When
So
we
prior to
discovered there was-
cancellation and going out to bid, we could have put this ordinance in place.
Right.
But the ordinance had never existed, so we're asking for this council to make an ordinance to allow for that service so that we can place a charge. That's as simple as it is. We don't have a mechanism to allow to do that.
I'm following
Now,
that.
the
I got it.
former mayor entered into an amendment of the contract, but there was no ordinance saying that the city had the ability to impose the charge on the residents.
Right.
So now we're kind of cleaning it up and coming back and saying, you know what? The city council has a right to speak on this matter. If we're gonna have this service, where do we want this service as the council, have the council speak up, and then where do we apply that charge? Now, you can have charges in a different format than the water bill. You know, these are decisions for the council to make and to have input in. We just need a
But you're the one that
mechanism
took
to
it
do
out of the
Exactly.
contract originally, but now it's up to us to come in and,
Right, because people were obviously upset that the mayor took it upon herself just to remove it on her own, with no
The
opinion.
mayor did not take it upon herself. The mayor did not have an ordinance allowing for the enactment
Mayor, when I met
of
with
that.
Mr. Romelli, and I believe Councilman Johnston was with, separate times, so we're not violating any laws. Councilman Johnston and I met with Romelli, and so did Councilman Bodier and I. He said that when the bid went up on the city website, it was to include garbage and recycling. He said about a day or two before, he was called to a bid conference meeting by Calvin Hotmeyer, and all of a sudden now, resubmit your bid, we're taking out recycling. We're not doing it anymore.
Correct. There wasn't an ordinance.
So we couldn't have put that ordinance in then? Or all of a sudden now, because people are mad because recycling's gone, now you want to put it back on?
No.
No, that's exactly what it is.
That is not
That is
what it
exactly what it is. Mayor, people wanted recycling.
Can we move on? I think.
It's funny that we talk all day about what they want, but when it's something against them, we move on. I have another
I
amendment to.
don't pretend to
You
read
said we can move
people's
on.
minds.
We can move on.
And I don't think you should pretend to read mine.
I'm not reading your mind, I'm stating a fact.
The
Mr. Burris,
fact
I have
is-
another question too pertaining to that paragraph that you read about any increases. Okay, can we get to that, please? Oh, gosh. So, my understanding when it says any increases, because apparently there's this issue of maybe Romelli not picking up trash and maybe charging people. I believe he sat here and gave us a quote of, I think it was $12 and something cents a month that he was gonna charge people. Does this allow that outside of the one can, that if he bills the city for extra trash pickup, then the city has the right to bill that homeowner for the extra trash?
Do you want me to discuss
Please.
the amendment?
This is
Okay.
line 84?
This is 84 through 87, where it says any increases in cost to the city for garbage and or recycling will be billed to the users. So I'm assuming that's the residents, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
The contract is originally drafted, because the extra can thing became a big issue just before May 1st. Mr. Romelli said that he was very upset with this extra can thing and that he was going to stop collecting the extra cans. And I had some communications with his lawyer about potential breaches of contract, and so we went back and forth about this issue. The contract is originally drafted, or the RFP is originally drafted, which became the contract, said that the contractor would go out and make a private agreement with the homeowners for the extra cans. Well, that, Mr. Romelli said, was extraordinarily cumbersome, and they didn't want to do that, and
Or he didn't want to be in the accounting business.
he didn't want to be in the
Said to
accounting
us,
business.
yes.
Garbage is enough. So the very end of the contract talks about the number of the counts, how many people you have out there from whom you collect garbage. And the RFP was put out based on an estimate of 4,000 households. So and the contract provides that counts will be done occasionally and that the city's count will be the prevailing count. And I believe the contract cost for picking up the residential can, the 96-gallon unit, is $1.42 per pickup. So I told the mayor, go out and find out how many of these accounts we've got. So the water department, Jefferson Parish Water Department gave us the spreadsheet. We started looking through it. We were getting complaints from some residents who had, I think they were paying for 8 cans, 9 cans. Mr. Romelli went
them
out
up.
and picked
Yep.
them all up but
Got that
one.
same phone call.
So I sent another letter to his lawyer saying, here's another breach of the contract. We eventually came to terms, and the amendment,
Which it's not been put up, it was taken down off of the website so that we
so we could put the amendment up.
We're
In
amending
fact,
the garbage contract?
clarifying.
Why?
And so now this is what's going to happen. Still, if you have 1 can, you're paying $1.42. If you have 2 cans, which a lot of people are, there are 242 units in the city that pay for multiple cans, you're going to pay $1.42. So you're just paying for the can.
It's the same way that we
$1.42 per
did
pickup.
before.
It's the same thing as you.
We never paid for additional
The
cans.
city had issued additional cans? They didn't,
Is that Ramelli cans or is
Anything
that
about
a
additional
hardware can?
No, this is Ramelli cans. These are Ramelli cans. Look, the first thing we had to take care of was the people who were paying for multiple cans, all right, who were seeing that on their water bill. And we said, we have to get this covered first. And coming to terms with Mr. Ramelli was, well, you're going to do it for the same price you're doing the single can. So,
So were y'all
There's a-
not aware of the additional cans? That was my question. Did y'all not realize that people had additional?
well, when you point to y'all, I don't really operate the city. So we needed to get the data from the water department, which has done the actual billing, which is what we did. Cleaned up the spreadsheet. It's attached, the service locations are now attached to the amendment, so you can see specifically who's paying for the extra cans. If you want an extra can, the mayor has set up a procedure to come to City Hall and make an application for the extra can. It's the Ramelli can. Mr. Ramelli has obligated himself in the amendment. Let me get it on the screen.
Mr. Burris, while you're pulling that up, just so we
Sure.
can understand this. So for people who have paid and requested additional cans, and we're talking Ramelli cans, right?
We gave Ramelli the list and said,
Okay,
go
all
put
right,
those cans out there.
Okay, so you're saying that they will be charged an extra $1.42.
They're going to pay the same amount that they're
They're
paying
being,
right now.
it'll be $1.42.
Right, it's $1.42 per pick,
so-
no, it's $1.42 per pickup.
There-
Mr.
So that's
Ramelli
what-
gets compensated
Okay,
at
wait.
$1.42 per pickup. That's
I
how
was
he
gonna
gets
get to that. So
compensated.
that could potentially be
All-
twice a week,
all-
which could be,
All you get is, just like you're getting your water bill now, you're paying for 2 cans, it's what, $10 every 2 months for 1 can? If you got 2 cans, it's $20
that's the water
every-
bill. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the additional fees that Ramelli is gonna impose to the city.
That's just on the Ramelli end. of it.
Okay, so can I just
Sure.
finish? So $1.42, this is outside of can 1, because can 1's already taken care of in the contract, so let's start with
Correct.
can 2. I have an extra Ramelli can that I pay for my water bill, pay through the city, I get an extra can. If I put my can out twice a week, because pickup's twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be potentially charged $2.80 a week for the pickup.
No, ma'am, you're going to be
You said
charged.
it's $1.42
No,
for
that's,
the can.
that's the compensation to the garbage man. That's the compensation to the garbage man.
So I need to pay Ramelli that.
No, the city is paying, the city's.
So- oh, so the city is
Ramelli's the
amending-
city's contractor.
So the city is gonna amend this contract to give Ramelli an additional $1.42 per
It
can,
works out at present to about $4,000 a month.
which I'm confused, because when Councilman Bodie and I met with Mr. Ramelli, he asked us specifically, obviously I wasn't given the most accurate number, there's more trash on the street. Do you think if this mayor gave me an extra $1 per can, which would be 4,000 cans, over 12 months would be 48,000 a year, his exact words were, "I'll pick up whatever y'all have." And he asked Councilman Bodie and I, and he said, "What do y'all think about that?" And I said, "Well, we don't have the authority to amend a contract," but I remember Councilman Bodie say, "Well, for an extra $1 to keep our city's streets clean, we wouldn't have a problem with that."
My
said-
understanding was that you wanted to do that for everybody in the city. You wanted to charge an extra
It
buck.
wasn't us, it was
No, no,
his-
no, no, it
his
wasn't, no, no,
suggestion.
this is what he presented to us. He said he brought it to the mayor and asked her, could I get an amendment to my contract and increase it by $48,000 a year? And I will pick up whatever is out there. If you've got, remember he talked about, he said whatever, I guess that's unlimited. So we were like, well, dollar per can, that's really not much that big of a deal, but we don't have the authority to amend it. We need to make sure the funds are available. His exact words said that when he went to go meet with the mayor to ask her if she would amend the contract to give him $48,000 additional, if I'm not mistaken, his words were that money had already been spent.
What? What does that mean?
Well, I don't mean maybe reallotted, that's what he said. I'm not saying whether it makes sense, I'm stating what the man said at a meeting that I had with Councilman Bodiach.
Yeah,
Right, that's what I'm
it's-
saying, when I
it's-
say spent, the funds could have been allocated somewhere else.
So you
So,
wanted-
But
we're now back
the
to
whole
putting
reason
that-
we canceled Progressive was to save money.
Yes, the mayor was
The-
saying that
the-
we saved 80,000. I
Wait,
didn't come up with 80.
let's just go back to what you can and can't do with a garbage contract. A garbage contract, you can put it out to bid for 5 years with an additional 5 years. That is for pickup, transportation, and disposal. So it's a max of 10 years on that contract. Mr. Burris, please tell me if I'm doing anything
No,
wrong.
that's correct, yeah, under
so far.
state law.
That's state law. So we had reached the 10 years on the contract. It had to go out to bid. We didn't have a choice about whether we were going to bid it or not. So state law mandated that.
That's
I don't
correct.
think anybody's arguing with that.
The contract automatically renewed, was that?
It did until the maximum that's
She said
established by
after
state law.
5, and you can
But
give
we could
another
have,
5,
we
and
could
that
have,
was
we
it.
could have entered into another contract with the same provider.
Sure.
But it has to go back out to bid.
No, I understand, but we could have.
So we picked the one that now we owe, that we're gonna pay them another 48,000, and we need to tack on additional fees of recycling,
The
right?
Yes.
the city, for time immemorial, the way it's operated on its garbage contract is if somebody wanted an extra garbage can, right now, each resident, each homeowner pays $123 a year for the service of one garbage can. The cost to the city is $149 per year per car. So it's being subsidized. And there's some questions about the legality of being able to subsidize that rate as well. Mr. Burris, correct?
That's correct. I mean, your ordinance says it's supposed to be a pass-through.
It's supposed to be a pass-through. So the city, for many, many years, has not increased that fee. Whenever someone wanted extra service, they always asked for an extra can. What this contract went into effect, Mr. Ramelli, his company, went out and helped pick up Progressive's cans because Progressive refused. We estimated that there were well over 6,000 cans out there being serviced. But the city was only collecting for 4,228, I believe, cans to be serviced. So he went out, did not follow the contract, which said at each address, you were going to put which cart, which has a number on it, to what location. He did not. He went out and saw a can and replaced it, saw a can and replaced it. The city received many, many phone calls from people saying, I've always paid for a second can, where's my second can? Lo and behold, you go and check the water bill and you check the ad valorem tax bill, and they were in fact not paying for an additional can. So there were a lot of cans out there. Also, we have a lot of fourplexes, we have apartments, etc. So, in his rush to pick up all the cans, he left an apartment complex that may have 4 residences with 1 can. And that is, Mr. Burris, myself, his attorney, his company, decided to clarify the contract. And
the estimate was based on, the RFP was based on 4,000. Your actual municipal address count, the number of municipal addresses billed on the water bill for garbage service is 3,807. You have commercial municipal addresses of 200. That's just the municipal addresses. The actual garbage unit count, that is how many cans are being paid for, people actually paying for these things. The residentials are 3,945. So you got about 140 people who pay for multiple cans. Some of them pay for as many as 5. Commercial, you have 288 units being paid for at 200 municipal addresses. So the total number of garbage units, the total number of cans being paid for on the water bill is 4,233. Our objective, first priority, was to make sure that the people who are paying for those extra cans have extra cans out in front of their units. So Mr. Romelli just went out there and decided to pick them up, on May 1st, which was upsetting both to the residents of the city and to the administration. So, the contract clearly when it was let, it clearly provided for occasional counts and said the city's count is the final count. The only question was, well, how are you going to compensate? Because the original contract said it'll be a private matter between the contractor and the individual. And you met with Mr. Romelli, he didn't want to do that. He said, well, I'll charge an extra $1 to everybody, I'll pick up everything. Well, he's already obligated to pick up everything. He's got to pick up white goods. He's got to pick up bundled sticks and twigs. He's already obligated under the contract to do that. The only thing that he wasn't obligated to do is pick up multiple cans, and that was the subject of how many cans do you have out there. So how do you charge for that?
Right, but I thought there was something in the contract that if the homeowner provided a waste receptacle, a Home Depot can, Louis Hardware, whatever, he was supposed to pick that up in addition to the Romelli can.
This was part of the amendment because.
Why are we amending the contract?
Well, let me tell you
Okay.
why. Because the.
In the contract, it also stated that there would be fines if they left trash out. Were they
Right.
ever fined?
Yeah.
And I got numerous pictures of that.
Did the city ever fine them?
We started keeping a log. We had a complaint log.
We should subtract that from the 48,000.
Surprisingly, the complaint log, there are probably like 40 people on the complaint log. Some of them who were complaining about not having extra cans who didn't pay for extra cans. But hold on a second. Let me get the amendment language up here.
Because I've seen trash sitting out there, and I just want to know if the city fined them.
I would say no.
I would say no.
it has not been.
Okay, yeah, waste receptacles under the contract is a defined term, and waste receptacles relates to yard waste. You have to read this contract pretty carefully because
I
it
took
has
plenty of pictures
like
of grass.
15 different definitions of what garbage is. So I took each of those definitions and gave them specific requirements in the amendment. So the services required of the contractor are curbside, semi-automated, or fully automated collection of commercial refuse, garbage, refuse, residential refuse, rubbish, and solid waste. Those are all defined terms under the contract, out of the 96-gallon carts. B, collection, transportation, and disposal of yard waste from waste receptacles, which is defined under the contract to be your own can. But that's only for yard waste, all right?
So you're telling me if I provide my own can, it can only be like my
can only
shavings
put
of when I
sticks
cut
in
my
it.
grass?
It's for your yard waste.
But that's, I don't,
Wait. Collection, transportation, and disposal of uncontainerized bulky waste, which is also defined under the contract, and collection, transportation, and disposal of white goods, which are refrigerators. So he's obligated to collect all of this stuff. It's just a matter of which can you put it in.
Is that under the amendment or is that under the original contract?
Under the original contract, he was required to do all this, so I
why
set it
amend it?
out,
So
I
why
made it
amend it?
absolutely clear in the
I know, so
amendment.
why are we, but we're not amending,
We're amending
are we
to pay
amending to give
Romelli to
Romelli
pick up
more
an
money on his
additional
contract?
Romelli can.
We're amending first, the amendments are first, to put the $5, your ordinance said $4. It didn't even conform to which we're actually charging, to allow you to do recycling and charge for recycling, and then to just add recycling as an in globo revision throughout the entire ordinance. That's all it does. It's just a technical amendment.
Okay, so I'm asking you, the amendment that you have before Stromelli, how much more is the city paying him of his 605 contract? What is he getting paid now?
Hold on a second. I'll tell you what I think is the penny.
And why are we making
And
an
why are-
amendment
right.
to pick up, if you have a trash can, you should be able to put whatever trash you want in it.
Wait, say again?
If you have a trash can, doesn't matter if it's Romelli or not, you should be able to put whatever trash you have in it. They should be picking it up no matter what.
That's,
Why
you
would,
know-
why would you make the amendment on the, that makes no sense.
You mean in the contract itself?
Yeah.
To clearly state what his obligations are. His obligations under the contract, under the RFP as originally bid, it was not terribly clear what the 96-gallon can was supposed to contain.
Well, that's up for debate.
Well, I mean, great, you can debate it. The, the total monthly cost of the contract is $48,086.88. That's from residential and small business collections under the present count of 4,233 cans to be picked up.
And we're adding 4,000 per month.
No,
So
this is, if you just knock it back, what was it originally, Mayor? Let me see, let me get the original contract on the screen.
So basically, we're doing this ordinance to okay y'all to go and, well, not you, of course, but the mayor to go into and renegotiate a contract that we had no idea was being renegotiated,
No, it's,
period.
Councilman,
And
it's not a
so now-
renegotiation. Here's what the
Yeah, it is.
original
If you're doing
contract
amendments, it's
states.
a renegotiation.
Here's what the original contract states. It says that you count how many cans you are. The 4,000 was originally an estimate.
And we
And it
actually, when you
says-
added residential and commercial, and if everybody got one, that was 4,007, I believe. So the count was, the RFP was very spot on the.
Yeah, I
on the
mean, it
number.
was really close on the number. So the original, let me see.
I mean, I just find a big problem with it that the company we got away from picked all this stuff up, and we're going with a company that is limited on what can be picked up
And
and
now
what
wants
can,
more money.
and what can, and all that stuff,
And we're
right?
giving them more money.
Well, wait, how do we have the right to go into an amendment of a contract? Is there money even budgeted to allow that increase?
Well, I'm gonna leave that to the powers that be.
The contract.
Not yet, so we're gonna amend a contract and
No,
we're not sure the
number
fund.
still is underneath what was proposed by.
So the savings that you preached to
Yeah,
this
this-
public of $80,000 is now,
It's still below the progressive number.
no, well, I don't think anybody's questioning that. How much more are we paying Romelli? If it was 605, what is his new contract now gonna call for?
Hold on a second. Just on the residential.
I just need a total annually.
Yeah, hold
Okay,
on,
all right. Mayor, y'all worked on this amendment. Do you not know what the savings is annually? I mean, how much Romelli's
He's coming
charging
up
us?
with it right now.
Well, I'm asking you.
The city attorney.
Yes.
Oh,
Justify doing this to the citizens. I don't understand.
Do this faster with a calculator.
As I said, the old company picked up everything. If you put a trash in just a regular
Dead body
can,
out there.
they picked it up no matter what. Now you're saying,
Just saying.
y'all are amending it to where it's only grass clippings or yard waste. I mean,
What's
that's,
the total number of units? 4,200 and.
4,233 times 8 times 142. Okay, so the original was 4,000.
Does it behoove the city to continue to comply and work with them? If they've been in breach,
Right.
they're not being,
It's $3,000 more a month.
they're not
so it's
abiding by their
36,000 a
contract?
year.
How much?
36,000 a year.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask openly, do you want to continue to pursue, to work with
Of
this
course she
company?
does.
Like I said, Carrie, I would prefer that if a question is asking
I'm sorry.
something to
That was
me,
directed to her.
that someone not guess what I'm thinking, or what, anything.
So my question would just be, again, we've had a lot going on the last 3 months, and in May, when he kind of put it on us on notice that, yeah, I've been doing that, but that's not what I signed up to do, and therefore I will not continue. Now we're amending, we're gonna give them $36,000 more a year. Do we feel like this is someone that the city wants to do business with?
Because what happens next month or 2 months later when they realize that 36,000 ain't enough, and they come back and they want to amend again?
I haven't been in the meeting,
He
so
wanted
I'm
to
just
do, he
asking.
wanted to do it by tonnage, and I said, well, give me your tonnage reports. Let me see what you got in the way of how much you out there. But, I understand he talked to us, and he said he had talked to a number of the councilmen, and he said, for this much more money, we'll do unlimited. But that worked out to be about
You know, I find it really
twice as
unfair
much.
to the folks who looked on the website, saw there was a public bid out there, responded to an RFI, put their proposal out to the city, didn't get it, and now we're going to renegotiate with someone we awarded and saying, oh, I know. You're right.
But it says-
We don't have to abide by that contract. We're going to help you. We'll amend it to make it better
That's
for
not what
you
happened at
and
all.
give them $36,000
That's
more
not what-
money.
That's not what
They're the
transpired.
ones in the breach right
You
now.
guys, do y'all
And,
feel like
and
that's
we're
what
we're giving to them,
Like, this is crazy.
we're giving more to them for them messing up
crazy.
what they're supposed to be doing.
The RFP,
No, that's not the case.
I'm
The-
losing my
the-
mind
the
over here. I am
contract-
stupider after this thing than I was when I got here.
The contract calls for them to be compensated. The original bid said approximately 4,000 units. It says that, 4,000 units. And it's subject to recount, and the city's count shall
I
be
don't think
followed.
I don't think I have issue with as far as the can goes, okay? Because you want
You
extra
pay for
can,
the
you pay
service.
extra.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with how the wording that we're changing to where if you don't want to get extra can and you have another can, the only thing they're accepting out the other can is yard waste.
Well, I'm just, that
And-
was the way the RFP was put out. You had
But I
to
don't
go
think that's how the
read the thing line by line to see how it was put out. But that's the way that's what the contract states. It was not included
Up for debate.
specifically. It was not specifically included. He didn't want to pick it up at all. I said, you're obligated under the contract to pick it up.
So again, my question on the table is, why, if it was me and I was the decision maker, I would have said, you know what? We don't want to do business with
Yeah,
you.
and resubmit
Because
it.
you're not,
Resubmit for
or
RFP.
resubmit.
You're in breach
I'm-
of contract. When you
but-
when he breached a contract, that's it.
But-
That contract's breach is no
but be-
longer
And we're
valid.
bending over for him.
Yeah,
You
we
have
didn't
my,
even fine
you
him
have my
either.
complete
Right.
sympathy on that, but the first,
Didn't even
the
fine him
order-
and
the
we're bending
first order
over.
of business is to get the garbage picked up. So, let's
he's-
not
he
let's
might
not
not be
loose,
doing
it.
go cutting off our noses to
Right,
spite our
right.
faces. Let's get
I'm
the
just
garbage
saying,
picked
why
up,
do we
and
want to
we'll deal with the
entertain
rest of this later.
changing the words of a contract? We're not happy, we're displeased. You're not holding up your end of the bargain, therefore, we'll put it back out for bid. Well, I don't know if they're, but we're not, we're amending it.
Oh, well, you have to, you absolutely
I mean,
had
we
to amend
have,
it to
you
get,
guys,
the-
we
to
have
get
ci-
those multiple
We have
cans taken
citizens
care of.
calling us saying, okay, I called Ramelli, they said, 48 hours before I put debris out, I need to call them, notify them, let them know, and therefore then have to put it in this can and mark it. I mean,
I had one
people,
guy call me, he had one cardboard box.
an Amazon
And he
box.
had to call 48 hours before to let him know he had one cardboard box
That
right
was
there.
empty.
That was empty.
Well,
Amazon box.
I'll just give you a for instance of, because I paid garbage fees in New Orleans and in Malvern, Pennsylvania, and I can tell you that
New Orleans is a lot bigger than Harahan.
New Orleans is a lot bigger, but you have to call in advance to get mattresses picked up. You have to call in advance to get white goods picked up. All of that kind of stuff has to be done. And my house in Pennsylvania, the rules are extraordinarily regulated as to what you can put in the recycling bin and what you can't. So this is not unusual. This happens in municipalities all over the place. This is pretty much standard course then.
Mr. Bierce, I'm with you. I just don't see why we would amend the language. The feeling or the perception would be to make it easier for him to comply and to meet his,
Oh, no,
his
no.
contract.
No, ma'am, I don't think that's what, you need to read the amendment. I don't think that's the case at all. Mr. Ramelli asked for a lot more than he's getting on this. This was the easiest way to do it for accounting purposes, because it's the same. We just go through the list. He's got a complete list now of all 4,233 garbage cans in this city. We told him he's got to go out and start, marking these things, serializing these things, and we're the ones who control the count. And it's the same. You're paying for your extra 96-gallon can the same you're paying for the first 96-gallon can.
Is this, I know this is weird, but is this legal? And is it legal to amend this contract because it was done under RFP persuasion, and now we go back and amend it without the other without the other people?
Yeah, do they have any
who put bids in
recourse
that
to
have
come
the
after the
opportunity
city?
to come back and rebid?
Within
'Cause this
such a
is-
small time, right?
This is almost like a
Act-
rebid situation.
Actually, adding the dollar fee across the board
That would
is
have been-
amending the RFP
That would have been a
process.
substantial
That is a
noncompliance.
substantial,
Yeah, this is consistent
legal
with,
problem.
this is consistent with the entire way the contract was bid, because it was bid on a per unit garbage unit number.
To
That's
go
the way it was
back and
bid.
then renegotiate and say, okay,
Say, oh, we're gonna
we'll
give you
add-
$7,000 more a month and pick up everything out on the street. That's a different contract.
That's a whole different RFP that would have gone out.
No, this
And then
this
we're
amendment.
violating the RFP, and the city would have been put at risk.
Because the contract specifically calls for occasional recounts of how many garbage units are out there.
Okay, but how long, when we sound into the contract with this guy?
Like February, March?
So
First
March,
was
we
the
already
beginning.
recounting in June.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't know. I hear everything you're saying, and I'm with you, but
And look, I'm gonna agree with the
this
council.
garbage stinks. This stinks.
I'm going to agree with the council. I am very displeased with what has transpired with Ramelli. I am displeased with our citizens who have been left with one can when they had 4 residences at a fourplex. I am displeased that we have commercial businesses that were paying for 2 or 3 garbage cans.
You're displeased, but
and
you never
only had
find.
one.
You never find it.
Right.
We did not move forward with that fine.
So we're gonna amend the contract and give them more money
And not pick up
all the
and
fines.
not
Right.
fine them and.
The-
They're not doing their job, we're gonna amend and give them more money.
It's not about giving them more money. It is about.
He
Can
said
I-
it's
can I-
$36,000
If you
annually.
would just, hold on. We put out the bid. There are 4,007 addresses or accounts between commercial and residential, and that's what we put the bid out for. And the bid, it was basically a per garbage can unit bid. So if someone decides, if the city decides, residents say, we don't, I'm taking back, I only want 1 garbage can, et cetera, and that number goes underneath that 4,000, or whatever the number is, then it's less. But if you grow, it's allowing for more.
And
If there is, say there's a potential, you have 10 new houses where 10 didn't exist. That's 10 additional
Mayor, let me-
garbage cans.
because I wrote to Mr. Vermelli's lawyers on May 11th and May 19th. And folks, I'd love to bill you all for suing over this contract. But, you know, this is, on May 19th, this is what I wrote to him.
Why would
because
we
he-
have to sue? Why can you breach?
Well, you
It's
breached it. Well,
over.
what do you think? They just give you, they just give you them, oh, you breached it.
Gonna
And
have to
they just
sue.
roll over and play dead. You have to go sue people and get this. So Mr. Romelli proposed, and I think this is after he met with you guys. He sent us a letter saying, give me $7,000 extra a month and I'll, you know,
Pick up everything.
I'll pick up everything. And I wrote back to him and I said, you know, the contract was solicited and bid proposals were received on the basis of unit cost per pickup. Your client was awarded the contract on the basis of $1.42 unit cost on an estimate of 4,000 qualified residential units. Your $7,000 per month unlimited figure is the equivalent of 616 extra units per month, a number that grossly exceeds the number of multiple carts actually in service to the residential customers of the city of Harahan. So we weren't taking this lying down, all right? So what's the way to get this resolved so that the garbage still gets picked off of the streets? And the way to do that was to go consistent with what the contract called for. $1.42 unit cost per pickup charge, contract page 31.
An extra can, I have no problem with.
Yeah.
It's everything else that we are agreeing to.
Well,
is
that's
what I
when
have
you,
a
that's
problem
why the amendment to the contract starts to deal with the 15 different definitions of waste that he has in it. I said, well, how does all this stuff get picked up? Let's read it a piece at a time. The biggest complaint that we got was the yard waste. I want my yard waste pickup. So, reading the contract, I found that waste receptacle was a customer-provided receptacle. And that yard waste was going to get placed in that private receptacle. So yes, I know it may be a bit of an inconvenience, but that was the way we amended the contract to fit into its existing language to require that the yard waste does get picked up and doesn't count to the 96-gallon can limit. You can put your own Home Depot can out there, put all your lawn clippings, put all your twigs, put all of that stuff in it. Right? So that was a way to get a little something that hadn't been clearly expressed in the original RFP. But I know that was what people were most upset about.
As I said, that's up for debate. I've talked to people that think completely different than what you think.
And what do they think?
They think that trash is trash. It specifically states in the contract what has to be picked up.
Well, you know.
If it's not in a can, if it's put in a bag on the side, it should be picked up. And
That's-
now you're redoing it where even if you have a can that's not Ramelli's, we still can't put trash in it. We have to put only yard waste.
Well, that, fair is fair. I mean, if Joe Blow is paying 90 for his 96-gallon can to put his kitchen garbage in it, why do you, living next door, decide that I can go buy a Home Depot can
Mr. Beers,
and put
you know, I think
that's
what,
just-
what we're saying is that we were used to a level of service for 10 years. We don't have that service any longer.
And, you
We've
know-
entered into a new contract and we feel like we didn't do vetting.
This
and
is
we
what-
did not choose
this
the right
was
vendor.
Madam, this is what all the contractors bid on. This is
Well, then the
consistent with the
RFI wasn't
RFP.
good.
The RFP was just like this. No, this is the way municipal. I mean, you can disagree because.
No, I agree that the RFP was terribly handled.
Well, I didn't write that, but it's consistent with what you see in municipalities
And how
nationwide right
Councilman
now.
Bodier was talking about being, 3-4 months out from actually signing them on. How do we not have to put it back out for RFP?
'Cause it's not a
How
sub-
is it that the other vendors can't come and sue us because we're not putting it back out for RFP and we change it within 3 months?
It's not a substantive amendment. This isn't something that goes to the actual substance. He's getting paid the same. He bid on a unit. That's why I told him you bid on a unit cost per pickup. That's what you bid on. That's what you were awarded on. If you're going to pick up more garbage, you're going to pick it up at that rate. And the contract said we control the count. So we did the count. We did our due diligence. We got the records from the water service. We've seen the count. We've got it down to municipal address, and it's a 75-page attachment to the amendment. Here are the municipal addresses you're picking up from. Here are the number of cans you're collecting. And the amendment says, and we can change this from time to time. If residential customers go up or down, we can add or delete accounts. You're going to pick them up from these addresses. This many cans.
And to go along with this was the recycling part. We're going to bid it out, do another RFP, we have everybody come in just to bid on the recycling itself?
I think, and I don't want
Why
to
wouldn't
speak,
you put
the
everything
mayor
back
has
out
told
to
people
bid?
5 times tonight not to speak for, but what I found, looking at the progressive contracts, were that those things were amended pretty much at whim a number of times, and recycling came in not as a separate kind of contractual service, it was amended into the contract later. Frankly, I think, recycling may be a substantive kind of amendment. I think it might have to go out.
So
for
Ramelli
an
could end up with a recycling contract.
Well, anybody can pick up garbage in the city of Harahan. This is not an exclusive
No, I'm
franchise.
talking about recycling. You
Yeah.
just said it
And-
could be
and
a
if-
substance amendment, just like you're saying what you previously mentioned
If-
before for him.
There were some questions, we had some discussions with Jefferson Parish as to where the recycling was going and how much of it was leaving Harahan, and what was being done with it, and we never got clear answers on it. And that was one of the concerns, I think, speaking for the mayor, that it was one of the things that concerned her, looking into the, what was actually happening with the recycling under Progressive, that I think I wasn't in these meetings, Mayor, but I think they were uncomfortable with that, and that's why the recycling got pulled out as a separate issue.
When you read the former contract and then the amendment for the recycling, the amendment said we're adding recycling, this is how much we want the city to charge, we want to collect, and put it on this page, this paragraph. The very next paragraph said everything they collect would go into a landfill. Then, when we asked for the records, they claimed the records were proprietary, so they never could document and tell us how much that they picked up actually got recycled. And
Another
where?
issue that came up late last year was the Christmas tree recycling program. And we found out that Jefferson was going to send it all the wood materials when we're in a lawsuit with them over the mulching operation. So the brakes were put on the entire recycling issue till we could get some kind of idea of what's going to be recycled and where it's going.
Mr. Beers, I know you haven't been here as long as we have, but this just seems like more smoke and mirrors. Just, this is the way it's been done from day one of this mayor's administration. It's smoke and mirrors. It's confuse you over here while you don't see what's going on over here. And I'm gonna borrow a line from, Chief Tim Walker. This just seems to be done by design one more time. And
Well-
it's sad.
Councilman, I'll send you a copy of the amendment, the contract amendment tomorrow. My objective in the practice of law is to make sure that everything that's put on the page is absolutely clear. If there's something in that amendment you think is unclear, I think it works in the city's favor, but you tell me what it is, and I'll go see if I can't have it changed.
I mean, I'm so mad that my heart is pounded.
And-
What do you-
This
what-
is
I don't
this
understand
is
what you're mad about.
Craziness. This is crazy.
Well, I think it's
Hold
kind
these
of
people to
comical
their
that this
contract.
mayor sat here and preached that she saved the city $80,000. And if you're telling me it's costing an additional 36, then we didn't have that much of a savings.
She's still under.
No, I
the-
understand.
It's still under the
I-
progressive.
Still
I understand.
have,
I'm just saying
we
I'm
still
quoting
have
her.
a
Well, wait, not only is it
significant
another
amount of
progressive amount,
savings.
you've actually got an accurate count of the number of residential
I'm just
garbage
stating
cans
a
you have
fact.
out there now. I mean,
And,
now we've got real numbers on
Yes.
this stuff.
and we're having to clean up inconsistencies between the ad valorem tax roll
Oh, don't-
and what is on the water bill to make sure that that it's consistent.
But by the time I'm finished with it.
And what's uncomfortable and it keeps reoccurring is, I was surprised that we didn't have in our municipal code recycling and a way to put that fee on, and there wasn't. And at that point, we couldn't do anything any further. We have to have it in the municipal code in order to allow for that function and that fee to be placed.
So Mayor, can I ask you a question? The new 36,000, that's gonna be spread out per household? That 36,000 is gonna be divided per household?
That comes from the count of the residential garbage
Right,
units.
so it's gonna
That's
be
how
spread
he
out
get.
per household. So the mayor's
No,
average-
no, it's gonna be spread. Distinguish residential units from garbage units. Garbage units are the cans, it's the number of cans. That's how Romelli gets compensated. He gets compensated the number of garbage cans. You're just paying $5 a month. That's all you're paying for your one can. You get 2 cans, you get $10. The city of Harahan in its munificence picks up the shortfall because what we collect from the citizens to have the garbage contract service doesn't equal what the garbage contract
So
costs.
one way or the other, citizens are paying for this 36,000 no matter what.
No, they're being subsidized, Councilman. They're getting a break on this. And I
They're-
mean, your ordinance originally read $4 a month. We're only conforming the ordinance to match what you're
It-
actually charging people.
The charge that the citizen pays $63 on ad valorem and $60 on the water bill per year for one can serviced. Under a less expensive rate than our prior contract, the city pays $149 a year. So you do the math, that's what we're subsidizing for each garbage can unit that gets serviced, which is less than the subsidy that we were paying under progressive. So,
I mean, you know, if this were truly treated as an enterprise fee, and to be consistent with what the law today reads, your own ordinance says, under subsection C of this section, that you can bill this thing through directly to the garbage user, directly through, not subsidize it. And on top of that, subsection D says, you can also impose a consumer price index increase every year, and you've never done it. So this is the general taxpayer picking up the garbage service, okay? That's how it's working.
so the smoke and mirrors would be if we didn't bring this to the council and let them have input and discussion. The way the ordinance is written is it allows the city, by saying it's a pass-through charge on the garbage fee, to go and just change it without coming before the council, correct?
Technically,
You
any mayor
worked
of
the
this city could
contract,
have
you
done
already
that.
worked the amendment, and now you're coming to us to make it where you can implement the amendment.
No, we're trying to conform actual practice to what the law states. That's what we're trying to do. And what your ordinance permits, if the mayor wanted to be not completely transparent about it, the next month you could have found an increase in your water bill. She's been perfectly within the law to do it. Perfectly within the law.
But this is up, this has been up, and we never knew that we were working a renegotiation of the contract. I don't care how you say it, it's a renegotiation of the contract.
No, it's a renegotiation. It's a renegotiation of the question of how you pay for multiple garbage cans. That's what this was all about. Mr. Romelli came to us and said, "I'm not picking up extra garbage cans anymore," and
And that's where you,
that's when I got very upset and sent him a letter on May 11th that you are in breach, and I want all your numbers. I want to see how many tons you're producing. I want to see, give me the list you were obligated to produce. The contract called for the provider to go out there and have a list of serialized numbers for every garbage can placed. That didn't happen. Mr. Romelli went out there, picked up a Progressive can, put down a Romelli can. I said, "Well, where's your list? How do I know how many are out there?" So the obligation fell on us to go. Went out. He said, "You don't have account, Mr. Romelli. We're going to do account." And that's when we got the water board records, converted them to a database, found out exactly to the garbage can how many. A lot of people, not a lot, maybe 4 people who complained were complaining about having extra garbage cans picked up by Romelli and not having their multiple can, and they weren't paying for multiple cans. So a few folks, who were the most vociferous.
It doesn't include the ones that I fielded before we started keeping.
And now this lady on Hickory, she's got an 8-plex. He comes out there and scoops up 7 cans, leaves her with 1 for 8 people.
I heard about that one.
And the other
And I
is-
sent him a letter, said, "This is a public health issue. This goes beyond contracts." I was furious.
We're having a tape change. City council meeting is now resuming. I have to really be on top of it to be heard better, huh? Okay. Oh. I don't remember being this close to it. There's another point that I wanted to clear up about this ordinance. When searching the municipal code, there was never a defined way of placing fees for garbage either on residents. We have a fee that's on the water bill, and it's on the water bill, but we also have it on the ad valorem tax bill. What we're trying to do here is clarify where the fees will be collected and also put in place a way to create the service of recycling and create where do we put that fee for the recycling? How do we collect it? So what the numbers are at the end of the day, that are in the body of the ordinance, we can talk about, but we have to have a method for where the fees are being placed, how the fees are placed, and creating that service of recycling and the fee and where those fees are going to be placed. So we can straighten up the municipal code and basically clarify it.
So I think where we were, Councilman Wheeler, you had a question for me on subsection C, and then everything.
What
A
page?
larger discussion ensued. So is there a specific amendment to that subsection?
Well, the two issues that I had was the price per month, and then, yes, on line 84 through 87, where it says, any increase in cost of the city for garbage and trash collection and disposal are to be billed to the user of such services. I would like to include, subject to council approval. but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not sure if I'm in a position to just, to move forward with this in light of what's been informed to me today.
Right.
So,
I have the same opinion. I'd move
I mean, it would have been
defer.
nice to know. So, so I mean, I don't know if we, I mean, Sue, this is your ordinance?
I'm with
But
Councilman Huey. Maybe, maybe defer it.
We can defer it. I move to defer it.
'cause
Well, do
just
you have any
with-
comments or defense?
In light
to
of
the
everything brought
ordinance?
up tonight, it might be a little more talk, you know?
I have questions too.
There's a motion to defer to the June 15th meeting, this proposed ordinance by Councilman Benton. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Johnston. All in favor of deferring?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 1 nay. Deferral passes.
Mr. Burris, could you, before the next council meeting, can you provide this council with a copy of that amendment, please?
I just did, I gave it, on your email already.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now we can start speaking through.
Ordinances for introduction. Proposed ordinance number 2017-10. The following ordinance is proposed by Councilman, this is for recreation, increasing line item by $1.
We have a poll that's about to come down. Yes? What?
She needs a microphone.
Proposed ordinance number 2017-10. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman, y'all want to do this unanimous? It's,
Sure.
okay, unanimously. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1822, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017, for the city of Harahan, Louisiana.
If we have any amendments, we do that when it's up for introduction?
Oh, when it's up for approval.
When it's up for approval.
Title only.
That's section 3.
And that's,
Yeah,
this was 2017-10, right?
Yes, ma'am. And proposed ordinance number
That
2017-11.
should not be there, remember? Yeah.
The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman, this is for health insurance.
Well, I mean, this is what we get. What is this?
We
Oh, that
just
was the
got
title.
the information on the health insurance. I believe that Mr. Dahl sent it to you, and we have to plug in those numbers to tell you exactly what they're going to be. But we didn't want a whole month to go by and say, not be able to assure the employees that we were going to cover this. So we will hopefully.
Okay, I understand health insurance, then what's maintenance and highways and streets and what's
Okay,
another
wait,
highways
let's
and
just deal with
streets?
one at a time. So Linda has to plug in the numbers for the health insurance, correct, Linda? But this is in order to give you the most accurate numbers, the health insurance, one of the policies was a slight increase and one was a much larger increase. So depending on what the employees actually opt for, that's when we're going to know what those increases are. We're planning for open enrollment for the week of June 5th.
6 and 7.
But that's correct, that week. And with open enrollment, once we know who's taking what insurances, we will be able to give you the numbers to plug it in order to give it. But this just doesn't let us have a delay and lets us be able to
Who's the new
move
company?
forward.
What's the new
Still
company?
through Dole?
It's still Humana. And we sent out the email that we did the equivalent to plans, but in order to give the employee more choices, we have a total of 4 plans that they can choose from for flexibility and to meet their needs. Sue, can you introduce the health insurance?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
All right. So Benton,
Yeah, motion by Ben.
all right. Proposed ordinance number 2017-12. This is an ordinance, well, y'all want to do this unanimously? This is for maintenance, amending.
No, I don't know what it's
All
all
right.
about.
This is,
An
this is for
ordinance
uniforms
amending-
for maintenance crew.
So
Uh,
is that something you're waiting on, a cost for that too, to prepare this ordinance?
Yes.
Who would
When-
like to
I mean,
propose?
with all due respect, we're literally just seeing this for the first time today. And I know it's just nothing. I think it's just the
We're going to be
it's-
getting it to you as soon as we can. If you want to not, we don't have to. We want to be very upfront that the budget was pared down. There is no flexibility in the budget. There's none. So
Mayor, all I'm
everything,
asking is that
wait,
there's an
I'm in the
ordinance-
middle of
wait,
something.
Technically, I was speaking first and you cut me off. There's an ordinance that Councilman Hewitt brought forth that said any items on the agenda should be placed before a certain date and time for them to be in. And it's funny that that rule only seems to apply to us if we want to put something on there. But these, I'm not saying they need to be done, that they don't need to be done. We know there's some issues. But we get this today, and even on Friday, when Nicole submitted the packet, it says, oh, I'm waiting on these 4 ordinances from Linda. And then
That-
it just, whatever, okay.
It's very strange, too, that it could be a first reading, but there's no substance.
There's nothing.
So it has to be
Yes,
advertised for
this is what we
30
got.
days, but it's one line, it says maintenance.
Well, I assure you, if any councilman would have brought forth something like this,
We
would've
have been
actually done it.
stripped down to nothing. We have no extra money in the budget for anything.
What does that
We're
have
gonna-
to do with the one-line
I'm going to
ordinance?
explain that, because we can't make any decisions on day-to-day operations. This council has hindered day-to-day
Oh,
operations. Has hindered day-to-day.
yeah.
So, as an item as simple as uniforms for maintenance, a pole, all capital was taken away from the mayor's discretion to use that, something with, like a pole that is about to collapse at the playground. We're having to worry, is this emergent? Do we just go do it? Or do we put it before the council and try and wait and get approval? Those are the kind of decisions. And as far as the last two, I alluded to I spoke to it at the beginning of the meeting. One is a maintenance for drainage, to talk about drainage improvements for Sedgefield, McHugh, and Donellan. And then the other is for,
So these are the ones that you're
For
saying
the
were
VFW.
500,000 and
Yes.
300,000.
yes. So we're in the middle of finishing the audit. We are in the middle of doing many things, and we will be getting this information to you as soon as we can. But we didn't want to have any surprises. We wanted to let you know that there's going to be a change in operations as far as health insurance. There shouldn't have been a change in operations because the mayor's proposed budget initially put in for the health insurance. And it was expected to increase, the rates to increase as they did across the entire country. But because of that reasonable increase was taken away, we're now having a change of operations and having to change the budget and amend the budget, which may create a deficit. We had this delicate balancing act, reasonable money was taken out, and now we're having to be forced to put it back in, just like the blighted property, for example. That was taken out, and now it's being put back in.
I took it out, but I told you I would put it back in.
Right, but you can't do anything, so
Oh,
it
you-
just stalls everything.
You just have to come to the council and inform the
So
council
do you
on what's
want
going
to
on.
just read the rest of the
But-
proposed
Yeah,
ordinances?
we keep getting
by
into a whole
title?
conversation with this, but it's first reading, we really shouldn't talk at all, so.
Which one are we on?
12?
2017 to us 12.
2017-12. Who's,
I don't know what, this is.
taking that one? That was for maintenance.
I'm not
Sue
doing
will
anything
introduce
about
it.
Councilman Benton for 2017-12. All right. All right, proposed ordinance number 2017-13. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman
I'll introduce it.
Benton. An ordinance to amend the capital budget for the year 2017 of the City of Harahan by increasing funds to the highways and street maintenance line item for street repairs.
So 13 and 14 aren't the same?
No.
No.
One's for street.
One for drainage improvement, okay. And proposed ordinance number 2017-14. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman
Benton.
Benton, and this is an ordinance to amend the capital budget for the year 2017 of the City of Harahan by increasing funds to the highway and street maintenance line item for drainage improvements. And old business, there's no old business.
New business.
New business number 1, Appeals Board and Planning and Zoning Board nominations and appointments.
I sent everyone an email with Ms. Jerry Jelpy's CV. I'd like to nominate her tonight to the Planning and Zoning Board for a term beginning May 7, 2017 through May 2022. Any discussion? Can we proceed with the vote to nominate Ms. Jelpy?
I submitted my request for Mr. Tommy Buddy to be appointed to Planning and Zoning Board.
I haven't received that.
And I'll nominate Ms. Gwen Fairchild, which I sent.
The mayor nominates. You can make suggestions to the mayor, but the mayor nominates. And you either approve or disapprove.
Okay.
So no working again. Okay. Gotcha.
So Ms. Jelpy is now up to be voted on for planning and zoning. All those in favor?
Yay.
All those that do not approve?
Nay.
Ms. Hewitt?
Nay.
We have 2 yays, 3 nays. It's not approved. And that just means that whoever's on the board stays until those spots get approved. I would like to.
We don't want to talk about Councilman Wheeler and
Well, it seems
Councilman
like whoever we
Johnston's
nominate, I mean, she appoints, so I personally feel like whoever we nominate, she's never gonna, well, excuse me, we can recommend. I think Mr. Buddy is more than qualified to do the position, and I think you would be a complete value to the city to be on that board.
We can't circumvent the way that things have to be done. We have put other names up for people. Mr. Buddy, I'm glad to hear that he's, considered service. But it is the mayor who nominates, and the council then votes on that nomination.
So why ask for our recommendations?
What?
Just saying.
I asked you for those
Well, Councilman,
recommendations.
I could have sworn me, I think everybody else got my email, because I think I gave it to everybody else.
did.
And Craig sent you about Ms. Fairchild, but you just said you nominated.
I don't,
So he gave you a recommendation, you
Right.
didn't nominate. So
And
I personally feel that anybody we recommend, you're not gonna nominate.
I would like to
sorry,
nominate
Mr.
Mr. Paul Joet to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals for the term May 7, 2017 to May 2022. All those in favor?
Yay.
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 Any opposed? We have 5 yays, 0 nays. Mr. Joet is approved. Item number 2, under new business.
Miss Judy Roman on
I'm
behalf.
sorry. Can I stop 1 second? The zoning board, so Penny Perino, it says term ended May 2016. It can't.
She was
she needs-
never replaced.
She was never replaced, and she needs to be replaced because that was her final term.
Pat Peppo's also, he's gone.
Yeah, there's
as
2
well.
more
He's
people that need to be
So how can you just
appointed.
go over
We'll be
people and?
Moving forward.
Okay.
City
That
Attorney,
makes
I got a
sense.
question for you, maybe you can help me. Steve Cole has been on planning and zoning, and I think he's only made 1 meeting, and it's been a good bit now. How do we go about filling that position? Do we just,
Has to be nominated by the mayor.
it has to be nominated by the mayor, but how does he be taken off the roll?
I was just reading the legal research I did on the nomination and appointment process, and you gotta come ask me how you get them.
And we have the Attorney General opinion also.
Well, I'll tell you, let me research that, Councilman.
Okay,
because
thank you.
I can't answer that one off the top of my head, I don't have the research here in front of me. In some organizations, internal rules are in place for people who don't make a required number of meetings, but I'm fairly sure you're planning zoning advisory board doesn't have such a rule.
Yeah, we do.
I think it
I have
does.
all
Yeah, we
the
do.
laws printed out in your packet.
Oh, well, thank you, Nicole. But I want to double check.
The people here, or you were just moving past this?
They must attend at least 75% of their meetings.
And what I don't understand, let's get back to this. Every mayor in the past has listened to nominations from council members, and they came up to vote. Never had an issue, never. And just because you're so spiteful, you're going to stop us from bringing up a nomination and say, oh, it's your duty. You got to do this, you got to do this. So you're going to hold people that can't even sit on the boards anymore and say that they're just going to keep holding the boards? I mean, that's stupid.
I've
That is stupid.
nominated well-qualified people that this council has voted down. So if you want to say, use characteristics and say spiteful, that's your word, not mine. The law requires that it is the mayor who is the person who nominates, and this board can approve or deny. That's the law.
Just
And
fire
this is
mayor,
exactly
let
why,
anyone but it's
whatever.
not that way.
Let's move on.
Well, I'm still stuck here, because we still have appeals board, do we replace or accept Darlene?
She's
and
not going to talk about it.
I don't get it.
She can do whatever she wants, apparently.
She doesn't want to discuss it.
Number 2, under new business.
Judy Roman, on behalf of St. Rita, is requesting assistance in planning the Feast of Corpus Christi annual Eucharistic procession on Sunday, June 17th, after the 4 p.m. Mass. She respectfully requests the city to provide barricades and a police escort.
The city has no objection and is pleased to assist. Madam Clerk, Nicole, would you please send out, I believe maintenance has been informed, but if you would send out another email with date, time,
I
et
did.
cetera.
I sent
Okay,
them the
thank you.
request, yeah.
Chief, you have taken care of with the procession?
Are you being asked about anything?
We've received it, we can take care of it as usual.
Thank you, Chief.
I was about to ask that, thank you. Do I have a motion to provide the escort and the barricades?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by?
Second.
By Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion is approved.
Number 3, new business civil service college list board members' terms expiring July 29th, 2017.
Would you explain what we're doing in that process?
I don't know what you're doing in the process.
I had asked you to proceed when I came to
And
your
I had-
office, as you usually do, to send the appropriate notification.
He asked me that last week. I have not gotten to that yet.
Okay, so it was asked. So I've asked you to move forward with the process in order so that we can have these positions filled, because you did, said you
Miss
do it
Whittle,
every.
didn't you have the oaths filled out and things like? Civil service.
We don't have them filled out for Ms. Barber and Mr. Glenn. We have not met again. We will be meeting probably next week.
Got ya. Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Before,
So it's July. What are we in, May? We have another month. We good? Next, number 4, court system issues.
Before we get into that, can I make a motion to amend the agenda for new business, make court issues number 5 and move something into number 4? Because court issues might take a minute. I want to see if I can make a motion.
Well,
Add some to the
you'd have to
agenda?
state what it is that
I
you
want to
want.
I want to just, and I would like to know Ramali's hurricane preparation for garbage pickup. We had one under the previous contract, and I know everything's new with Ramali, and since since it seems they're going to continue to be our garbage collectors, I'd like to just get up maybe some kind of hurricane preparation guide of what they're going to do or what's going on, because I mean, we're about at that time, right, Chief? Right. I just think it'd be a good protocol.
So you would like them.
To
oh,
give us
so-
a
I'm sorry,
hurricane
you're adding it.
preparation guide, or,
So you're making a motion to add that?
yes,
I'll
I'm making a
second it.
motion to change that to
Okay.
number 4.
Carrie, second.
Okay, I have a motion to amend the agenda to add under new business, Ramelli
Hurricane preparation.
hurricane preparation by Councilman Bodier, seconded by Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Councilman Bodier? Any further discussion?
No further discussion.
Okay. Court system issues?
So Tim, are you asking them when they're when they're amending the contract, that they would add some.
I'm just asking them to
something
submit a plan, submit a.
Separately.
Separately. To say you're a garbage
I
collector.
believe,
That's a big part of hurricane.
Mr. Burris, wasn't there something under emergencies where it's clarified?
They can submit us something. Mr. Burris, you don't need to dig into it.
Maybe before the
I wanna
next
say it's
council meeting,
I want to
Tim?
say it's been addressed in the,
A copy of it provided to us before the next council meeting?
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd just be, because I know we had it with the prior garbage collection company, and it's a big part of, I guess, the hurricane process if a storm hits us, and they're saying it's gonna be a pretty active season this year. And I'm really not asking for any kind of formality. I would just like, you know, hey, look, here's a,
it's been addressed, so if you just give us a second.
It's addressed on page 20 of the contract. If you're asking for something about what they want you to do with the storm debris, I don't think it addresses that, but it says, and, not that I get paid by FEMA. Emergencies and special events. In the case of a storm or other emergency, special event, or extraordinary situation occurring in the area, the city of Harahan may grant contractor reasonable variance from the regular schedules and routes. As soon as practicable after, contractor shall advise the city of Harahan of the estimated time required before regular schedules and routes can be resumed. In the case of a major storm or other emergent situation, the city of Harahan may request and require the contractor to perform services beyond the scope of normal operations. For services pre-approved by the city, the contractor shall be paid for such services based on an hourly rate presented in their response. Under no circumstances will the city of Harahan be responsible for any additional costs of contractors' operations and performance of the duties under this contract. Let me see if their response addresses this. Living in this area, this is what they included in their response. Living in this area, we know what storm season is all about. We understand the needs and concerns of the residents before, during, and after local storms, and certainly compassion for the residents during the post-storm cleanup and collections. We have additional cleanup equipment available that provides for a smooth transition during times of need. Our company is also well prepared with an emergency evacuation plan and employee housing site. This plan assures that the municipalities that Ramelli Waste Services will be the last, this plan assures that the municipalities at Ramelli Waste will be the last to leave and the first to return. That's everything I see in the contract that deals with emergencies.
Is that,
It's fine.
okay.
When we work with the other garbage contract, they would come in and they would say, you know, we're bringing in this many trucks, we'll have them, you know, backed up. And it just came in, they would speak at the podium for a minute, and it would make the citizens feel, you know, kind of warm and fuzzy, because it's citizens in this community like to feel kind of warm and fuzzy. Usually, I mean, that's all I was trying to get at. That's all I was trying to get at.
Okay. Next. Court issues.
Yeah, number 4, court system issues. 5.
So I have a couple of issues, but I know, Chief, you said you wanted, I had put down your little notes about the attachments. If you can kind of fill us in on, I know we got a couple of emails that this council was included on. I know for me it was a little hard to kind of.
We were contacted by the court this past Monday morning, and apparently the mayor authorized Digicom, who's the IT vendor for the court system, to put into the attachment section anywhere up to, I think, 300 attachments. Found out from the clerk of court some of those were not verified, meaning that the person who was being attached wasn't properly vetted, meaning that they hadn't signed a form saying they needed to be in court. So we can't prove that they had missed court, and therefore an attachment should not have been issued. When this came to my attention, we verified 2 while we were in the court, police personnel and myself. I then went back to the office and sent out an email to everybody to stop, cease, do what they're doing, and to do what you can to recover these emails, these attachments, or properly vet the ones that were issued. It puts the city at a liability. It also could put policemen at harm. That's my concern.
So, Mayor, why were these attachments released without the proper vetting?
The attachments should have been properly vetted from the very beginning, that those signatures should have been taken care of. There are a number, I think if we're going to talk about court issues, I think we need to talk about a whole host of issues with the court. We are down to one employee in a place that we've always had 2.5 to 3 employees. We're expecting to function at a level that just cannot occur with one employee. It was stripped from the budget. We don't have the ability to cover lunches, ability to cover her if she gets an
And why
appendicitis.
wouldn't you?
We don't have it.
So if Jackie goes
I'm
to
not
court- well, no,
finished.
no, I'll let you finish.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
not finished.
Go ahead.
If she wants to go on vacation, we have no one to back her up. We rely on volunteers. We don't have the ability to have her go off for training, et cetera. It has increased stress, potential for error repeatedly. The court has needs to be addressed in a realistic way. It needs to have the appropriate manpower in order to do it. One of the ways that you can make the court or any system more proficient is to automate the processes. So automation will improve efficiency and decrease some of the workload, but it by no means will fix the workload. I emailed you today when you wanted to discuss this issue, stating, I think before we do any further discussion, I would like to have a representative or Mike Foley here so that he can address your concerns about the automation of the attachments, the appropriateness, how to double check the 30-day window for that time, et cetera, because they do this every single day on a regular daily basis. This was also addressed with the clerk, just more specifically about the attachments, in verbal meetings about the attachments, and if we were ready to resume automation. It was yes, and then it was put in writing and it was started. We found some simple fixes to help make sure that the signatures are in place. Old processes that were in place when we had 2 clerks on court night have to be adjusted. So we're putting in a printer, we're getting an extra signature pad, et cetera, in order to make sure that those signatures are in place as we go. But there should be at no point that people left without a signature in place, et cetera. So there are many issues. First and foremost is the proper staffing and development and training of staff in order to run the court so that we can do things correctly.
My question is, what is being done to correct this? Because it's a monumental problem.
I have spoken to Mike Foley the next day when she was concerned about errors. We talked to Digicom, and they assured us, we worked with Jackie, who reviewed those cases. I personally offered to help her to go through those cases at that point to look for signatures. It did not take very long to look for the signatures in the cases.
She went through all 300 cases. It was approximately 200, I think 80 something.
I'd have to she was supposed to do it the very next day within
Okay.
hours, because she has one drawer, chief, with the cases, and you literally go through the paper, and she was looking for.
Well, in
a
all defense,
signature.
Jackie's not here to defend herself, so what I would like is, I did send you an email asking you if Jackie could attend the meeting tonight. When I left my office at 5 o'clock, I didn't get a response back from you. Considering, I know you never really appointed department heads, but I know Jackie pretty much, I guess everybody here knows she runs it. I wanted to address some of these issues, but what I'd like to do is to defer this. I will bring it up on a new business in June. I'm asking your request if Jackie could attend the June 15th meeting, but I also, I plan to discuss a few issues with her prior to, so I can get a little bit more information.
Employees are under, directly report to me.
I'm asking you if she
I
can
would-
attend. I'm not asking who she reports to.
No, I believe that any conversation that you have with her, I would like to have.
Okay, so then I'll just have her
several-
come to the public meeting. I won't discuss with her before. So does she, do
I
I?
think it would be lovely to discuss with before,
Okay.
but I think there are a number of issues.
Okay.
And I believe that you really would be served well by talking to Mike Foley, Steve Brolin,
Okay.
et cetera, because there are a number of issues, and some of them
Okay,
that
my
we
question to you
cannot
was, is
handle
Jackie
publicly.
able or allowed to come to the June 15th meeting?
I have emailed you today, and I would like for you to
You
talk
must have
with.
emailed me after 5 o'clock, but okay.
No, I didn't. To talk to Mike Foley beforehand, and I would like to talk with you on how to proceed and what's best to proceed.
So at this point, you're not giving her approval to come to a meeting unless I do this first?
I am heavily suggesting.
It's a yes or no?
She is out of her own free and will. She can come to a meeting.
I'm asking you.
She can come to the
Okay.
meeting. I am saying, I think what is best is that we have to have Mike Foley or
Well, then I'll
Steve
arrange
Brolin
maybe for
here.
Mike Foley and Jackie and all of us to have one big meeting. And we'll get all the questions answered out, because I don't understand staffing. Let me reiterate. This council, yes, we removed salary lines in court on a department that's revenue is down 30%, but yet the mayor asked for an increase in salary. Well, I'm sorry, you need to bring your revenue up to justify more people. What I don't understand is, yes, Jackie's entitled to take lunch, she's entitled to go on vacation, she's entitled to get sick. I had somebody call me who went to court to pay a ticket, and court was closed. I guess maybe assuming the day that we got this email that there was a staffing issue and it was closed. That person went over to City Hall, said, hey, look, I'm here to pay this ticket, I'm on my lunch hour. They were told to come back. So what I don't understand is if Jackie takes lunch or Jackie takes off or whatever it may be, she's entitled to vacation. So you're telling me that nobody in City Hall can help somebody, so they took their time away from their work, took, probably on their lunch hour so they can go pay this ticket that may have had to have been paid that day. I don't know the whole story on it. And they were told to come back, that nobody could help them.
This council's decision
I'm
has
asking-
interfered with the day-to-day
So
operation.
you're telling me, Mayor, that if a person comes, we're supposed to work together. So because this council stripped money from that department, if somebody comes to pay a
There are-
ticket, you're telling them no to come back.
It's the same way with, if you're talking about someone
Oh
who is
my
in charge
God.
of payroll, or someone who's in charge of the
So if somebody
insurances,
comes to my
or
office and I
someone
happen
is
to
in
not
charge
be
of
there, I assure
taxes.
you, nobody in my office
There
is saying,
are-
come back till Kerry gets here tomorrow.
We
Mayor, we can
are-
move on. We can move on.
That's
Let's address the
fine.
council.
All what I ask is if you have such a meeting, I'd like to be,
Uh,
we would
no
like to
doubt.
be present. Thank you.
So
I
you-
guess I have to.
address the council.
Tommy Buddy, 7208 Stoneley Drive. I asked for information on our discussion on the zoning on Second and Hickory. Haven't gotten a comment, and I'm not surprised. I asked for information on a use agreement for the Horseshoe facility. There's been no comment. I'm not surprised. Back to the sewer fund issue, not discussed is the fact that according to a schedule prepared by the Director of Finance, it was $326,000 put into a reserve fund, and I think it was 2015. The agreement, as I read it, requires that it have one half of the next year's P&I in it, which is about $125,000. So it's about $200,000 sitting in a reserve fund that doesn't have to be there and could be used for repairs. There's $820,000 or approximately in the sewer fund, which is available for repairs. And it wasn't included in the master schedule where the council, with less than complete information, approved the sewer fund increase. Now, the next comments that I have are all related to the garbage contract. Firstly, there is reference in that original contract that it's based upon an estimate, but there is no provision in that original contract for an adjustment to the contract sum if the number of cans is different. No adjustment in the city's favor, no adjustment in the contractor's favor. So while there's reference to it's based upon an estimate of the number of units, it's a lump sum contract. I'm sorry, it was a lump sum contract before the city rolled over and amended it. Here's how I see the process occurred. An RFP was issued, which included recyclables. With a unusual process, recyclables were stripped. A contract where Ramelli was accepted as, I guess, the most responsive bidder under an RFP process. A contract was issued to him, executed and issued. The contract, I just learned a couple of minutes ago, has already been amended. It's been executed. The amendment, according to the city attorney, clarifies numerous provisions. It provides more money to the contractor. It stripped a provision which I believe clearly provided that Ramelli was going to pick up.
Motion to extend 3 minutes.
I have a motion. I have a motion by Councilman Benton. Hold on just a moment while I stop this. A motion by Councilman Hewitt to extend by 3 minutes and seconded by Councilman
Second.
Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 3 nays. 5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes.
The contract amendment, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm going by what I heard earlier, stripped out the resident's ability to put garbage in a, quote, waste receptacle, which was an owner-provided can. We can no longer do that. So we've stripped service, we've reduced service. And just on what I've heard, the city rolled on all issues. It was a negotiation where the city gets less service, the contractor gets more money, and on the basis of a significant number of clarifications required, or the fact that an amendment was necessary, tells me that it was a extremely poorly issued, thought-out contract. This is the largest contract, single contract that the city of Harahan enters into. And in 3 months, we've done an amendment because the contract was poorly worded. We've given the contractor more money because the contract was poorly worded. And we've stripped services because either the contract was poorly worded or the city just rolled over for the contractor. It pains me to say it, but I think there was just gross mismanagement in this procurement process and in the amendment process. Thank you.
Jason Brusick, 7204 Stone Lake. And I'm going to talk about the Ramelli contract a bit as well. I was very surprised, Mayor, to hear you say, with regards to the nominations, that, oh, you can't circumvent the law. You can't circumvent these rules, the Harahan Municipal Code. Because very clearly, in the Harahan Municipal Code, at Section 2-231, Section C, prior to executing any amendment to a contract, this council has to approve it. It's crystal clear in the code. And you just said, well, you can't circumvent that code. I'm surprised you said that because you just did it. In fact, I'm shocked, I'm appalled that, did you folks realize, today's the 30th, May 30th. 7 days ago, she executed the amendment that raises our bill by $36,000 at least. She signed it 7 days ago. Did you guys see it? Did you approve it?
No.
I didn't think so.
We just heard about it the first time tonight.
So by what authority is this mayor acting? By what authority? The amendment will add at least $36,000 to this contract, which constitutes roughly 6%, which means this is a substantive change to the contract. It's a big deal. And I want to know how this amendment was even entered into without public comment. How is it we never heard about it? It baffles me how you could do this. There's a term for contracts like this. They're called sweetheart deals. That's what they are. They're shady, they're underhanded, and they're backroom. And I thought Harahan was a lot better than that. I thought you ran out of transparency, Mayor. I thought you ran out of transparency. Why wasn't this transparent? Why'd you sign it a week ago? And just now you're hearing about it. Thank you.
We will now address the council. Secretary's report.
Secretary's report for April, $495,927.57. Reports.
Chief Walker.
This is statistics for the Harahan Police Department for the month of April. There was 614 calls for service, 18 auto accidents, 101 citations issued, for 131 charges.
Turn off the beeper.
With 7 patrol requests. Narcotics arrests were 16. Number of charges were 20. There were 9 felony, 6 misdemeanor, and 5 city. Other arrests were 54 for 109 charges, 6 felony, 73 misdemeanor, 9 cities, and 21 traffic. Person and properties crime. There were no murders, no rapes, no robberies, no residential burglaries, no non-residential burglaries, no attempt burglaries, 1 motor vehicle theft, no attempted motor vehicle thefts, 18 larceny thefts, and 13 assaults. With that, I'm going to ask this council to introduce an ordinance for next month to take that $160,000 that was left over in my department out of operating and put it in a capital account for the police department in 2017. In light of what's going on with the health insurance, I would ask this council to do a resolution, to do have a study done about a possible millage for the police department. These officers just can't make it take-home pay, $14,000 a year. That's unbelievable. Mayor, I have a doctor's appointment in the morning. Can we get together tomorrow about the police pension? I saw in one of the emails the other day that Becky Hammond was doing some research how much we and the police officers have to pay to bring them up to date. Have we received any information on that? Or Linda, do you have any information on that? Nobody's done any computation?
And
They
we
were off?
No, we contacted the state, and it's being addressed, but I'm happy to meet with you.
When you say being addressed, do we have a number, how much money we have to put up?
I don't have that for you right now.
Well, how is it being addressed then?
I don't have it for you right now. I
No,
don't.
well, okay,
I
not
don't
talking about the
carry
money,
every
but you said it's
single-
being addressed. The only way it's gonna be addressed is if the money's paid to the state pension system.
It's being addressed. There's things that both the police department and the administration have to do together in order to get everything appropriate and handled. So I'm happy to meet with you, and we will
Okay, I should be in a minute
address
later.
the issue.
After the doctor appointment tomorrow, I'll call you.
What time is,
I've got a doctor appointment for 8, so I should be in no later than 10, I hope.
all right.
I'll call you when I get
And
in.
even if, Chief, if it has to be after hours, we might have to do that.
We have a
I've got
graduate, we have 2 police officers graduating tomorrow night in Flush Parish, so I'll
We-
be tied
I'm
up
just
tomorrow.
saying, I don't have my schedule in front of me.
Okay, all right, whenever we get together. Going back to ordinance y'all passed before about capital projects for blighted property. We've got $10,000 worth of houses that need to be torn down or boarded up in the city? Is this money's only gonna be used for blighted property, meaning houses to be boarded up or torn down?
whatever is, for instance, we had a fire,
Okay.
and we had to spend money to board it up,
Okay.
et cetera. And we had no process in place in order to really go and use funds to do that. And we also have another piece of property that's got a roof caving in, and it really should be condemned.
Okay.
So there's a number of things that we have to do. Since our manpower is what it is through maintenance, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to physically do all the work.
With $10,000, that's,
Well, no, what I'm saying is physically on their
Okay.
to-do list, et cetera.
Okay.
Those are gonna have to, we're gonna have to address
okay.
how we move forward.
And going back about being a safe city.
Excuse
we've
me,
got a-
Chief, excuse me, you would sub that work out?
I don't think we
Pardon?
have to, but if there's a
She was
lot of
asking if we would
issues,
sub the work out.
if there's a lot of issues, or if it's past what we can handle, if they have raised houses in the past, our maintenance crew cannot do that. That has to go out to a contractor to do that.
Well, Again,
So
I'd
if
like
you have a
to,
blighted property and it's being condemned, or if it has to, the city has demolished homes before.
again, I'd like to get my $160,000 back for the police department. There's quite a few houses under construction. I've talked to a few people that are moving into Harahan. One is recent as this last weekend. Why are you moving here? Lady moved from Houston. Oh, I'm moving here. I just read about y'all. Y'all are the safest city in the state. So you keep taking away money from the police department. It's hurting our officers to do their job and puts them in harm's way. I'm not happy about it.
Chief St. Cyr?
Quick
Oh,
report
wait, you're
tonight,
not,
thank
I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to sit down. Okay.
Until these officers are in that pension system, something happens to them, they have no, God forbid something would happen to them. But if they get hurt on a job and they have to go out disabled, they don't have a pension, a disability pension. That's how serious this is.
When did we find this out?
We found out this past week. That's what we've been asking, if we can have access, read-only, to everything that's in the Encode computer dealing with finances, we could have picked this up a year ago when this first came about. We don't see payroll on our section of Encode, but if we did, my secretary would have picked it up. Hey, they're not taking out the pension expense for the police officers. And that means I don't get a financial report on a timely basis. We're not realizing that they're not taking out pension on our side. So is there any chance we can get this back to where we have?
We'll discuss it tomorrow at
Discuss
our
it.
meeting.
What is always discuss? Well, you can make a decision right now.
We'll discuss it in our meeting. Thank you.
Yep, exactly.
Yep,
Chief St. Cyr?
I have no report tonight, thank you.
Councilman Hewitt?
no report.
Councilman Bodier?
I just got a personal thank you to Mr. Tommy Buddy. He's helped me with some projects recently, and I really appreciate it. He is the man. Thank you very much. And school's out, so please pay attention. You know, all the kids are running around, including mine, so please don't run them over. And thank you, guys.
Councilman Johnston?
No report.
Councilman Wheeler? No report. Councilman Benton? I would just like to state a few things, to answer a few questions. We have gotten bombarded with public information requests from the police chief. It is on our small staff nearly impossible to answer. I remember the chief coming before this very body complaining about 2 public information requests he had received and the amount of work that it took. So we have all his requests in queue. He has been given information in emails, sometimes repetitively. We have also asked for certain financial information that has not been forthcoming, that it took our city auditor to go over to the police department to get to clarify grants. So the money, that $86,000 number on grants, isn't, shall we say, the grant information we had was not accurate, and we were not privileged to have that information, thus necessitating getting public information requests and building our grant folders the way that they're supposed to look and have the information we need. As far as the financials, I will say this once, and I'll try and be succinct. When this council starts passing budgets in time, stops amending them so that they're illegal and unable to be implemented, and when we stop getting bombarded with shall we say, just amendments at the last minute, this council will receive financials on a timely manner. The problem with the city is if you put a budget in place months after it's supposed to have been put in place, you can't get the financials to someone. You're asking us to balance a checkbook without telling us what the checks were, basically. If you give me amendments that are unapplicable, that are problematic, when you create money that doesn't exist, Ms. Wheeler, on budgets, when you have inworkable amendments that transfer money from one year to the other that are not doable, it holds up all functioning of financials. So when this council and the police chief can get in step and ordinances are written appropriately.
Can I
that
make a
don't have
motion
be
to
vetoed,
amend? I'd
then
like to
the
make a motion to
financials are
amend.
okay.
To adjourn?
I'd like
We
to
have
make
a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 5 yeas, 0 nays. What? We didn't pay the bills. We'll have to pay them next time.